Oh man, how's things going? Good.
Good. Just got back from walking my dog and taking her out. She's been eating a lot of grass lately, so I think she has like some sort of stomach issue or upset stomach right now. Hopefully she'll be okay later on.
Yeah, yeah. My dogs do that occasionally.
Mm. Yeah, it's cold outside, and I have like stray cats following me around. Well, I have stray cats around the house,
Hmm.
on the outside of the house, and they like following me around. So, yeah, they were following me and the dog. It's kind of embarrassing, but it's
Hmm.
just it's funny. I mean, you gotta love these animals, you know.
Yeah, yeah. You should go live when you walk your dog next.
Oh no, it's boring. It's like it's just walking the dog around the neighborhood, and then she's not a good
Ye-
walker. She likes to sniff around a lot
Uh-huh.
and just drag me everywhere. So she's a very undisciplined walker. So it's
Yeah,
not.
but
Yeah.
that's entertaining. Watching a dog pull someone almost out into the road, seeing cats creep behind you like they're stalking. That's very entertaining.
It is for unless it's me, because I would be paying attention more to the camera rather than like where I'm walking or if a car is coming towards me.
Oh man. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I got a solution for that. Let me make a note here.
Okay.
I got a solution for that. Note to self. There we go. There we go. Note taken. There we go. So my little dog right now is like wanting me to pick her up, even though she sees that I'm busy. And
Hmm.
then here, baby, get right here. And her mom is on the bed chilling. Come on, get over here. And she does this cute little thing where she takes her paws and does like her two paws together, like pick me up, pick me up.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Really, really cute. So welcome to Broken Kayfabe, the unofficial after show of Breaking Kayfabe with Baldred and Barry, well, which is the greatest podcast on God's green earth. Ariel, we just did what we like to call in the show business a cold open.
Oh, that was very cold.
Yeah, it was. We're not getting many ratings off that opening. You talking about walking your dog, quote unquote. Did you ever watch Dawson's Creek or One Tree Hill?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, I was aware of those shows, but no, I have not seen them. Why?
Oh,
What's going on with those? I mean, back then, but yeah.
well, walking the dog was a euphemism for masturbating on one of those shows.
Oh wow. No.
Both of those
Um,
shows, both of those shows filmed in my old hometown of Wilmington, North Carolina, where I was last weekend.
how was that? How was that trip, by the way?
Very cold, very cold.
Yeah.
And by cold, I mean as low as the 20s. There was some in Raleigh, Durham, where we flew in and out of. There was still some snow and ice on the ground when we departed. So,
Ooh, wow, yeah. My sister, as you know, lives in North Carolina now, so she sent me a video of their first really big snowfall of the season, and actually of their lives so far since moving to North Carolina. And yeah, she was very amazed by it. Us Californians, we don't really experience too much snow unless we go to like Lake Tahoe or something like that. But yeah, I barely had my first snow experience back in 2012 when I went to Omaha, Nebraska for my friend's wedding, and it was like about 4 degrees. I wore sneakers. When I didn't I brought dress shoes and I brought sneakers, and for some reason it didn't click in my mind that snow is really it's pretty much solidified water. And when I stepped in the snow for the first time wearing my sneakers, I'm like, first of all, my foot sank into the snow. Secondly, it was wet. Oops, hold on. It was wet. And I'm like, why is this wet? I'm like, oh shit, because it's fucking water. Excuse my language, but it's freaking water and it's cold. And why am I wearing sneakers? And now they're all saturated and I don't know what to do because I'm freaking from California and I have no idea what snow was. I was sliding everywhere. I was like slipping and sliding. I fell on my butt one time, and it was just very embarrassing for me. And the oh my gosh, hold on, the answering machine won't shut up. Okay, I forgot to turn this shit off. Oh, what is going on? I can't shut up. Okay. Sorry. Can we edit that one out?
You mean the one that you just got exposed? Because I'm pretty sure that was your mother's voice saying, if you're calling about a voicemail we left you about your car's extended warranty.
You heard all of that.
It's you. You're the one calling everybody all the time trying to sell a warranty. You're exposed.
Oh my gosh, how embarrassing. I'm sorry about that. I gotta turn this freaking thing off. Let's see. How do I turn this off? No, that's not it. You know what? Let me just take the battery out.
Well, you finally got a call back. Come on. You got an extended warranty. You got to go sell. I know. We can take a break.
I hate those things. I hate those calls. We get them all the time. But yeah, first snow I've experienced was 2012 in Omaha, Nebraska during my friend's wedding. It was cold. I hated it. I didn't hate it. I was very surprised on how dirty snow gets when they shovel it like onto the side of the road. Yeah, off the road. Yeah, I'm like, it's so freaking disgusting. I did not know that. I was so enamored by just the black and gray just piles of just snow that was just on the road and all that stuff. It was eye-opening for me.
Well, not only does it look horrible, it also tastes horrible. So don't make snow cream out of the snow that's on the snow banks off the side of the road.
Oh, what about the yellow snow? How about that?
Oh, bro. Oh, man. Oh, too far. Too far. Ariel, not to change the subject, but let's change the subject.
Sure.
Do you watch TV?
Once in a while, yeah.
Okay, good. So what shows you watching?
I mainly watch cooking shows or food vlogs or whatever they call.
Such as?
Let's see. Well, on YouTube, there's that Mikey Chen guy. He looks like Jackie Chan, but he eats a lot of food. It's the kind of like a mukbang. I don't know if you're familiar with the term, but it's a person that eats copious amounts of food in front of a camera, and
I thought that it sounded familiar. I mean, it's called mukbang, right?
Yeah, not gangbang, but yeah.
Well, which someone's taking copious amounts of other things and not necessarily eat them. They could be. Okay. Yeah. All right. Continue mukbang.
Yeah. But it's I at first I didn't like it. I don't like watching people eat a lot of food. It's kind of like it weirds me out. But then my girlfriend was so into it, so we were watching a couple of videos together. On YouTube, and I kind of got into it, especially the food. The food looks delicious. Anyway, but there's also like documentaries on Netflix that I watch pertaining to food, like Chef's Table. I love Somebody Feed Phil. That's a funny show, and just those general food related shows and whatnot. My boss always tries to get me to watch like all these different types of TV shows that he's been watching, like Yellowstone. I think he's watching like Mayor of Kingston or something like that. He's always telling me about it at work, but I never have the time to actually go and watch all these things. How about you?
So you haven't watched Cobra Kai?
I saw the first season and a little bit of the second, and then I stopped because I was watching something else at the time. What was I watching? But yeah, I haven't gotten back to it. And I was a comic nerd, so I was watching a lot of the CW TV shows like The Flash, Arrow, Legend.
Love The Flash.
Yeah. It's gotten kind of it overstayed its welcome for me.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I can't get into anything this season. Nothing.
Yeah, it's very it's like the same thing over and over again every season. It's yeah, I don't know. It's gotten to that point where they really gotta retire it or something.
Yeah. Well, you had the crisis of the infinite Earths, and I think that the whole world's going to end. You can only do that so many times, and then how do you top that?
Yeah, by doing it again, but a more graver situation where this person might die if we don't, like, Iris was in trouble and Barry's in trouble, and then all this thing, the world's in trouble again, and then the even more powerful villain, and yeah, it's gone.
They did a good heel turn.
Yeah, they do. But
I mean,
yeah,
Caitlyn went back and forth. Killer
yeah,
Frost.
Mhm.
She went back and forth, and now Killer Frost is a good guy. How's
Yeah.
Killer Frost Killer going to be a good guy?
Exactly. And then she has a crush on Chillblaine, who's like the fucking lamest character name ever. And I don't know, another icy dude that's a bad guy who's trying to reform. I don't know. I just like tuned out. And then, Cisco's not there anymore, so they replaced him with another I forgot his name, but he's another nerd. And I'm like, okay, so you replaced a nerd with another nerd. That's great. And what's his name? Harrison Wells and all his other like multiverse character. It's just like, oh, okay. I mean, he's a great actor, Tom Cavanaugh, but I think that's his name. Anyway,
you're right.
It's just, it gets kind of annoying after a while. Just all these different Harrison Wells variants and whatnot. But yeah.
So I will go, and I'm going to watch Cobra Kai. I've enjoyed it. I do not agree with Jeff, if you heard him on the podcast this week, where he says, it's hard for him to believe. You know what? We're wrestling fans. Sometimes the stuff is really hard for us to believe. Even, you try and suspend your disbelief. And what I will say is that I think Cobra Kai is doing right is they have old fans, but they also are getting new fans. My son, for instance, loves it. And if my daughter watched it, she would love it too. So I think with the high school stuff where you go, oh come on, he'd be kicked out. You gotta suspend your disbelief. When I was a kid, I'd be watching shows with my dad, and he'd say, that's not real. Like he ain't gonna throw a man on a chair and it just break like that or whatever, right? And so Jenna and I, whenever one of us will say, something about a show that's not believable, we'll say to the other, quit poking holes in it, Frank. That's what we used to say to my dad when he would, you couldn't watch a show without my dad trying to crap on it and say, if he shot him with a gun, it wouldn't blow him back. That's not how physics works. And that's my dad. Always poking holes in it. So another show that I'm excited about was Ozark. Have you heard of that show?
Yes, I have.
So I think the guy in that is Jason Bateman. And so he was like a money launderer, and he's went into hiding and was still laundering money and all this crazy shenanigans. But there's a real good character on there called Ruthie, and she's like worked for him, and she was like from this family of just bad people, never done any good. They're just thieves and whatever. And so that was her character is sort of the what do you call it when like it's a anti-hero,
Okay.
And she's got a lot of good quotes because she is just foul-mouthed and and just not what the lady should be. But then you get to see a little sensitive side, and then you get a little of her backstory and see why she's so hard. And so I'm excited that Ozark. I think the first one came out last night, and here's what I've realized that has happened to me. I don't like waiting a week to watch a show.
Okay.
I would rather just binge it. It's like, okay, so we'll watch episodes tonight, and then we fall asleep. We'll pick back up tomorrow where we were. So we've done that with Below Deck. Do you know what that show is?
I've heard of it. Yes.
So Below Deck, it's yachting, and these people rent this yacht, and it kind of follows the crew and a little bit of the guests, not a whole lot. And I've found that we're caught up after binging it for months. And we actually started it. Where did we start it? We were in Wilmington the last time we were in Wilmington, and we started watching it there, and then we come back and used our subscription services or whatever to finally get caught up. And it's just not as fun having to wait a week, and then I have to go, damn, what happened on the last one? I don't remember, what all happened. So I hate waiting a week.
Yeah. Oh, my dog. I don't know if you could hear my dog, but she's kind of whimpering right now. Baby, stop. No, she's okay. She just wants my attention. Yeah.
That sounds like a good time for us to go to our pre-recorded interview or talk or discussion with Chris Zaucha and Travis Rains. And let me just set this up just a little bit. It was late at night, and we talked and for a couple of hours, and we were supposed to talk about WCW 1993, and I don't know, it just never happened. But we just talked about a bunch of other stuff, and so here is that recording now. Well, good. So you guys are here on the line. I'm going ahead and I'm recording. So don't say anything that's going to get you canceled.
All right. Talking to you. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, because no one from West Virginia has ever said anything controversial.
No, God, no.
No one has. Neither
hey, Travis.
has anyone from North Carolina.
Ain't that the truth, man? Hey, have you ever heard of Chapmanville?
No.
All right, so Chapmanville is just like an hour south of Charleston, and that's where some of my people live up in West Virginia.
Yeah, that's far away from my part of West Virginia.
Yeah,
I'm in the good part. I'm from the good part of West Virginia. But
yeah, way up north, right?
Yeah. Well, the Panhandle between Northern Virginia and Maryland.
I don't know where that is. Where is that?
So what town you said it was? Morgantown?
Martinsburg is where I'm from.
Oh, Martinsburg. Yeah, I've been through there.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah. I live in North Carolina. I've lived in North Carolina pretty much my whole life.
Well, you never lost that West Virginia accent, bud.
Yeah.
Oh, you also might have the NASCAR accent.
Yeah, I got them both.
Yeah, that is true. But I'm telling you, next time I come down there, I'm gonna bring a picture of my buddy that lives up in Chapmanville. Well, one of them, and you and he could be brothers. I am not kidding. He's a guy that I used to work with when I worked and by work I mean wrestled, and he went by Psycho, and his manager was the Doctor, and Psycho lived in Chapmanville, the Doctor lived in Logan, and he was the funniest, craziest, off the wall guy that I ever worked or traveled with or anything. So they used to book me up in West Virginia, over there on that side, like Logan, Man, Jaeger. And there was guys there that we worked with, Steve Padudovac, Bud Adams, who was the spoiler that you may have seen in Smoky Mountain.
Yeah.
And he's since passed. The Cuban assassin's son, Richie, worked with us, and Chance Prophet. You guys heard of him?
Yeah,
I've heard the name. Yeah.
So yeah. Well, I knew him as Joey. And there was I came across a picture of all of us at a show in West Virginia, and I posted it, man. And he looked like a freaking baby, I mean.
Well, if they're from West Virginia, there's a good chance we may be related.
That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why like all of my family we're trying to stay off of the you and me 23 or the ancestry DNAs, because they didn't want to find out that we're all related. Actually, when I got on it and my cousins got on it, we realized that one of my uncles that's on it and my father have different dads.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Good times right there.
Well, so my grandparents are all deceased, but for some reason, one of my cousins, who's also on it, just wanted to defend, defend somebody and say that she found proof that my dad was my grandpa's son, And I said, look, the DNA don't match up because my uncle's got Ashkenazi Jewish in him, and so does everybody else, but I don't. So the only other alternative is I'm not my dad's son, and I look just like him. So I could, I have to be.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, let me just shut up. What did you guys want to talk about?
I don't know what you want to talk about.
I'm good for whatever.
Yeah,
good
whatever.
with whatever.
We don't care.
All right.
We told you what we want to talk about, but we'll let you build up to it. We're gonna make you work for it.
Me? Let me tell you what I know about WCW in 1993. Nothing. I was in the freaking military. So I in 1992 I had enlisted in July, and and so I got to Fort Campbell in December of 92, and so 93. I was at Fort Campbell the whole entire time, barely eating enough, and being broke as hell, and running half marathons every Thursday.
Wow, holy crap!
Yeah, so no, I know absolutely nothing about it, and I'm not like some nerds where I just go back and rewatch all that crap.
Yeah, I hate nerds like that, right, Travis?
Yeah, I know.
We're like all losers.
Yeah. Who would go back and watch 93 WCW and then realize how great it was?
Yeah, what a bunch of geeks. What kind of clowns would do that kind of crap?
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
What I did do to try and prepare, because I am some sort of a journalist, I did look at What Culture, and I'm seeing like the things that happened in '93. There were the Hollywood Blondes.
Yep.
Yeah.
They were a great team. They're better than great. They were an awesome team. Fantastic.
I don't like what if questions. Oh, that's my alarm that says it's time to come record. I don't like what if questions, but man, I'm just going to throw this out there. What if Brian Pillman had lived?
Well,
I think you'd have to go back and say, what if Brian Pillman wouldn't have had the wreck?
The car, yeah, because that really set the. He was already living a crazy lifestyle before that, but after that, it got even worse.
But I think that it would have been a lot less flying Brian had he actually lived. So,
do you think he would have went back to WCW, Travis? Like, let's say he lived. Let's say he, I don't know when his contract was supposed to end with WWF, but do you think he would have went back to WCW at the end of his contract, or do you think he would have stayed in WWF?
I'm pretty ssure he would have asked to leave when Brett got screwed.
Oh, yeah, good point. That's true. That is true.
See, I never would have thought that. That's why you guys are nerds and I love you. I never, ever, ever would have thought that he would, because he was like trained up in Calgary, Yeah, so that makes sense.
Well, yeah. And maybe they could, maybe he'd be like Owen. They're like, you're not leaving, but we'll put you in a feud. We'll keep this thing going with Austin.
Right, because that would have been a perfect. He would have been perfect to fight Austin once Austin won the belt.
Yeah.
He could have done a throwaway in your house pay-per-view against Brian Pillman.
Oh yeah, because everybody got a throwaway in your house title shot then.
Yeah, it seems like it. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. Maybe he would have stayed. I don't know. We're never gonna know, but it's something to think about.
Yeah.
How would he have fit in 98, 99, 2000 WCW though?
Oh, I think he would have been over the top, and I think he would have been overshadowed by the Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Hulk Hogan. I think they would have felt threatened, and he would have been buried.
Well, and here's the thing. WCW wasn't going to hire him back.
I don't know about that. Why do you say that?
Oh, because he just left on the greatest of terms, right?
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, well,
I thought Bischoff had said that that Brian told him he was going to go to the WWE and then come back.
Yeah, there's so many stories about that, whether he worked Bischoff or whatever. It's hard to say because one person isn't to set the story straight.
Yeah. So. Well, if there's anything that wrestling has taught me, it's that after time has passed, you could just make up your own story of what actually happened.
Exactly. Yep.
But the prevailing story with Pillman was he had convinced Bischoff to release him from his contract so it would look like he was really released.
It was legit.
But the plan was for him. Yeah, the plan was for him to re-sign another contract and come back. But instead, he just ran because he didn't have a contract.
Right. Yeah. And by the time after after the car wreck, like in ring Pillman, like he was never. I mean, obviously, but like I don't know. I don't know that WWE would have been in a big hurry to bring him back. Those one of those what if questions we'll never have an answer to.
Well, I will say this: I do think that wrestling eventually will need someone like Brian Pillman, someone that blurs the line of is this real or is it not?
Right.
Because to me, I haven't been interested in it because I mean it's so, I don't want to say predictable, but it's nothing is a big shock anymore. The Monday Night Wars, it was who would show up and what kind of craziness or crazy matches or whatever would go on, but now it's just it's kind of a little boring to me.
Right.
But if someone would just blur the lines between real and fake, and they could do it, they just, you don't have to play someone's music every time they come through the curtain, right? You could have them just come out and start whipping ass, and then later show how they just ran out, and somebody tried to stop them like the gorilla or whatever, right? And said, hey, no, wait, before you go out, we got to play your music. And they're like, screw the music, I'm gonna beat this person's ass, right? I mean, it's just to me that's something I think that would bring a little more realism into it and allow us more to be able to suspend our disbelief. And I also think that there's room for the Orange Cassidy stuff. I watched a match with him the other day, and I thought, man, that guy's a heck of an athlete. And he took some move from Adam Cole and was selling the heck out of it. The heck out of it. So I'm like, that there is some room for the comedy, but when it's time to start fighting, it's time to start fighting. I mean, have you ever gotten in a fight and the guy starts cracking jokes? No, when you're ready to fight, you're ready to throw hands, and no one's putting their hands in their pockets. Their fists are up, ready to throw down.
Yeah, I think
and Orange Cassidy does that. But I was at Battle of the Belts last night, and he's over, especially the younger crowd, the kids and stuff. So
wait a minute, you were at Battle of the Belts last night?
Yeah.
Holy crap, where was it?
The Bojangles Coliseum, the old Charlotte Coliseum.
Oh my gosh! So tell us, how was it?
It was a good show. I had a dark taping ahead of time. The Battle of the Belt show was just an hour long.
How long?
Matches.
How long did they record dark for? Was that an hour also?
Yeah. Well, they about 45 or 50 minutes for the first dark, and then after the Battle of the Belts, they had another dark taping. So it was a 4-hour show. We left close to 11 or close to 10.
Was the show still going on when you left, or did you stay for everything?
Yeah, the show was still going when we left, but
yeah, eventually it just gets too late. It's like, I got to go home. I'm tired.
Well, you kind of had their big show from 8 to 9, and then turn around and they start having job matches.
Was did Tony Khan come out and thank everybody for coming or anything?
Yeah, David Crockett was there.
Oh, was he really?
See, that's really cool, man. I'm really glad that they bring some old people in.
And he put over David Crockett big time.
Yeah.
You know what? Why shouldn't he? I mean,
no,
I'm not saying that David Crockett was the best, but there's nothing wrong with complimenting someone else and making that person feel good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's had him do commentary a few times.
Did he really?
So, yeah.
Yeah. People make comments about Tony Khan being a mark and blah, 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 but he pretty much watched the exact same stuff all of us did.
Well, you know, one of the things that drives me crazy is when someone craps on somebody, calls them a money mark.
Yeah.
It's like,
oh, that is the worst.
right? So you're saying that they're worse than you because they've got money? Shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
No. The people who call other people a money mark are usually the people that if they had money, they would do the same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah, they're just, it's more jealousy. Like, oh, you have money to do that and I don't. But if I had your money, I would do the same thing.
I do the same thing, yeah.
Yeah, I would buy every belt I could buy up too if I had indisposable income, right? I'd have Dusty Rhodes' boots or whatever, the Road Warrior spike that they stabbed in his eye. I'd have everything, man. I still got crap that I don't need or really even want, but I just got it because it was cool and I could afford it. So yeah, I don't blame the belt collectors and all those folks out there for the crazy stuff that they got for just because they got the money. Hey, so tell me more about the show. So did they play music like before the show started, or was it just like kind of quiet and buzzing?
No, they were playing music. I'd say it was probably 80% full, 80 to 90% full in there last night. The crowd was great.
Yeah, they always have a hot crowd for AEW. I will say that. They always got a good reaction.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And, it's kind of nonstop during the dark tapings. I mean, they already got a jobber in the ring by the time they get the other jobber out, pretty much. But, with the TV show, you get your commercial breaks between matches and stuff like that. But really kind of after that, the crowd was kind of dead too. So I think people were just lingering around waiting there was a trios match with Adam Page and two members of the Dark Order and Matt Hardy and Private Party. If Matt Hardy's team won, then he got a title shot. Like all the champions wrestled last night, but only a few of them wrestled in championship matches. Everybody else was just like, well, if they win, they get a chance at a championship on Rampage or whatever. So,
what happened with was Cody supposed to wrestle and he didn't? Did he have COVID or something?
I'm assuming so. I'm not 100% on that. I know it was due to medical protocols is what they said. So I'm not 100% sure about that. So.
You're not at liberty to say, so you actually know.
No. It's not that I know. It's just that he could have had anything.
Oh man.
I could call him. I could call him real quick and see.
Yeah,
let's
get Cody in on this call.
Actually, let me call Brandy and ask her.
Yeah, call Brandy. You have her phone number.
Yeah.
Or just roll over and ask her.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't she live next door to you, Travis?
Yeah. Actually, she's back to house sleeping right now. So I'm gonna go wake her up and.
Or you need to ask her some hard-hitting questions. You need to answer.
But Sammy Guevara and Dustin had a good match for the interim TNT title.
Yeah, why'd they do that? So who won? Sammy won, right? Or did Dustin win?
Yeah, Sammy won. So I don't know if when Cody comes back, he's going to be TNT champion again or what. That I don't really get that.
Right.
I thought Dustin was tremendous in his last WWE run, where he looked like he was in good shape, and he could go, And I always feel bad when I see like WWE releasing people, but especially someone like him who has, so much experience, Yep. So he could really teach those guys a bunch of stuff. So I'm glad to see him, getting work and down in AEW and getting good matches and getting, it should be a big deal for Sammy Guevara to go up against Dustin Rhodes, who started in year, like 86, 87, something like that.
Yeah. And I think they said, I think they said last night that it had been like 28 years to the day or something that Steve Austin and Dustin wrestled for the U.S. title in the Charlotte Coliseum.
Oh, how cool is that? Holy crap.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you start crying?
Dustin's still good. Him trying to keep up with Sammy, he got gassed pretty quick last night.
Yeah.
And I mean, it wasn't really, Sammy had to play more to Dustin than Dustin had to play to Sammy. And I think that kind of, the match probably could have been better if they'd had a better opponent for Sammy. Somebody who could have kept up with Sammy, or somebody who could have worked the pace that Dustin worked. So
I can see Dustin matching up better with, like, at this point, just bigger guys and maybe a little bit slower, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Like, he should be out there with smaller guys that could do high flying and stuff. Unless Dustin is working as, like, I don't want to say a monster heel, but just because I can't think of anything better to describe him as. If he was working as like a big monster heel with smaller guys, that would be a pretty cool dynamic. But if it's just basically a babyface match, that's not going to mesh well.
And that's what it was. It was a kind of a, we're going to go out here and do this anyway. If they shook hands at the beginning of the match, Dustin congratulated him afterwards. Yeah, Cody will be back next week. He'll be TNT champion again, and we can all rejoice.
I can't wait. You know what? With Dustin and Sammy, like, not every match has to be like aesthetically good.
No.
The point over. Like when Brock fights Lashley, I mean, that's not going to be exactly Flair Steamboat, but just to see the two guys like locking up, it would be pretty cool. So when I watch wrestling now, I'm not always like, oh, this is a great match. It's like, whatever. I mean, if it's passable, then I'm fine. As long as they tell a good story, I don't give a crap if it's got good arm drags and stuff. Fine. If it does, that's great. But if it doesn't, whatever. It's fine.
I try to remove my brain whenever I watch wrestling.
Yeah, I understand.
It really does help a lot.
It helps a great deal. If you're sitting there watching it like with a critical eye, it's like, dude, you're watching fucking wrestling. Get a hold of yourself. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, you have to do that with TV shows too.
Yeah.
My father.
Kind of entertainment.
Yeah, my father, when we would watch TV shows, would always poke holes in it. Like, oh, you know that explosion wouldn't be that big. It wouldn't throw that person through the window. Yeah. So my wife, when one of us will say it, will say, "Stop poking holes in it, Frank. Just enjoy it."
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
Right. Or don't enjoy it, but don't not enjoy something because you're busy poking holes in it. Like, if you just don't like something, that's fine. But if it's like, if you're just trying to make sense of the nonsensical, it's really, you're not gonna win. You may as well not watch, especially with wrestling.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, especially with wrestling.
Anytime people talk about, oh, that move's so fake, it's like, okay, but you would bounce off the ropes, okay. Come on.
Yeah.
People spend 30 years running into Hulk Hogan's extended foot. That was real, though, right?
and then just laying there after he leg dropped him.
And then just lay there after the big leg drop.
Yeah.
Whenever I see that someone posts about Hogan's surgeries or his bad back or his whatever, I kind of want to go, joke's on you, big man.
Yeah.
Hey, you beat me back in '92, but man, my back feels great. How about yours?
No kidding. No kidding. And Hogan could have gotten away because he used like the lariat or whatever in Japan, or the Oxy Boom Bomber.
With the Axe Bomber, the Oxy Boomba.
The Axe Bomber. He could have done that here. That would have still been over. I mean, the leg drop was pretty cool to look at, but it took a toll for sure.
Well, he also could have laid on his back and let more people pin him, and that wouldn't hurt his back as bad either.
Well, that could happen. That doesn't work for me, brother.
Well, it was all that posing after the leg drop too. Really.
Yeah. I thought that was stretching back out.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing with Hogan, not funny, haha, but funny. It's like towards the end, like I would say, 99 through the end of his career, he would be a little bit more giving, for lack of a better term, as far as like putting guys over. But he never, ever, 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 ever laid down for the count of 3 for Randy Savage. He never put Randy Savage over. Put over Flair, put over a bunch of other guys. Never put over Randy Savage.
This is a true story. I haven't talked about me wrestling in years, like since I did it, right? After I stopped, I never, ever, ever, ever talked about it. So it's kind of weird. So it's kind of weird for me. I mean, I denied it. And actually, so friends of friends found out that I did it, and now they are absolutely obsessed with getting like footage, right?
That's awesome.
And so my wife and I are going to Wilmington next week, and they're like, hey, you got to bring a DVD. And because I showed the 3 DVDs that someone had made for me, and it was called The Rise and Fall of My Wrestling Name, what it was then, and I won't say because it's also the name of gay porn. And
I love it already.
And so I showed them that, and they're like, oh, you have got to bring those DVDs for us to watch. But what I was going to say was, so when I was working, and I had stopped, so this is like 2003, I went to a show, and I'm standing against the wall, me and the girl I was dating at the time, and the main event happens, and this guy wins the title, quote unquote, right? And he's supposed to challenge the other guy's supposed to challenge him. No, the guy lost the belt, and he wanted to. Was supposed to say, "I'm gonna challenge you next week to a specialty match," right? And so the guy looks over, sees me against the wall, and says, "No, I don't want you. I want Frankie over there," but he uses my gimmick name, and he says, "I want Frankie," and I hadn't even talked to the guy. He just, in his match, saw me standing there, completely screwed up this outlaw mud show, by challenging me, who's standing there in street clothes with, my girlfriend against the wall. And so I went to him. I said, dude, what was that about? He says, hey, man, you can't be done yet. You never let me beat you. You got to let me beat you. This is a true story. And I said, Chris, hey, look, man, I'm done. I'm too old for this stuff. And at the time I lived like 5 hours away, and so over on the other side of Raleigh, and I was like, man, I can't do that. He's like, one time, Hollywood, you got to come back. Well, so here's where I feel bad. The guy ended up having a stroke.
Oh my God.
A few years later. And so I feel so bad for that guy. And I said, man, I should have just done a match, because and I never thought he never beat me. I never thought that, right? Because, I mean, it was work. Yeah. He was a much bigger guy than me. He could kick my ass. And I never, ever, ever, ever thought that. But it mattered to him. Wow. And I told him, I went and saw him, and he can't say anything. He says, like, see, I see. And I can't understand. Yeah. That's all he could say, right? And so I went and saw him and sat there with him, for a little bit. And I said, man, you know what? If I could do one more match, I'd do it with you. I'd put you over for the strap. And he loved that, But I mean, it's just crazy how that people are so into the wins and the losses, and that here I am out and not even not even working the show, and this guy goes crazy and wants to challenge me just so he can get that one win.
Well, the funny thing is, so you're sitting there just like as a spectator, and he points to you and says, Frankie, I want to match with you. Do you just then like get into character, or are you like laughing, or are you like, what?
Well, so the girl that I was with, she's like, he's going to fight you. And I'm like, no, we're leaving. And I said, I was just shaking my head, I was begging off. I'm like, to put my hands up, like, no, I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. And everybody's like saying my name, which was Hollywood. I'll give you that much. And so they're like, the 15 people in the crowd, Hollywood. And I'm like, no, this is not ending well. And so I went out the side door, and we got in the car, and I said, we're getting the heck out of here. And she's like, well, you should go and wrestle. I'm like, absolutely not. 100%. Oh, man.
How's that guy doing today? Is his speech still really limited?
I haven't talked to him, but he's on Facebook, and he will post like sometimes like random stuff, like he loves the Tar Heels, or he'll say his name, which was Crybaby Chris. And you know, and I'll always
sounds like someone I know.
it probably is. He
Yeah.
he lives in North Carolina. Oh, you're talking about Chrissy.
No, you did your best, Frankie. You did your best.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
Yeah.
no, come on, Zaucha's not Crybaby.
It would have been even funnier if you wouldn't have got it. So
Yeah, we all just sat here like, yep. Sounds like someone knows.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
man.
So I hope he's well. But he posts things that I always tell him. You know, yeah, I'll always say, "Hey, yeah, you were the best, man. You know, you were the champ," and all these things. I mean, bless his heart. And come to find out, like I knew him as a kid when I was a kid. So I was like 13, and he is like 18.
Wow.
So he's only like 5 years older than me. And I looked up to him, like we went to the same community pool. So I always, you know, I feel bad for him and put him over. You know, every time I see him post something, tell him how great and how tough he was.
That's cool. Hey, man, some people take that, you know, seriously. You know, you can't begrudge them that, I guess, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Bless his, and his dad always like helped set up the ring, put up chairs, never asked for a dime.
That's cool.
Yeah, so good people. So Travis, who got the biggest pop of the night while you were there at the show last night?
probably Hook.
Man, that is crazy to me.
Yeah.
How'd he do?
And he didn't. He didn't do anything. He just walked out. He was like, they just brought him out before Battle of the Belts, I think, to get the crowd hyped up.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Wow, that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Why do y'all think people are into him?
I have no idea. Travis? Because I don't get it.
I really don't. I mean, you know, in the ring he's really good, but he looks more disinterested than Orange Cassidy. He, like, on his face, he just looks like he would rather be anywhere else doing anything.
Yeah, one of the matches I saw of him, he goes in the ring and puts his head on like the turnbuckle, like he's sleepy.
Yeah. Well, and you know, he's, you know, the part of Taz's team and all that stuff. So
he's Taz's kid, isn't he?
Yep.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
So he does the Taz mission. He does the Tazplex. He does all the crazy suplexes. Yeah. And I mean, he does. He looks like some like young MMA fighter.
Right.
But he looks like one of them like young MMA fighters who got famous on YouTube and he'd really like to get punched in the face.
Yeah, he's a good looking kid. The hair's a little crazy for me. So I talked to Ariel about this on our last podcast about him no selling that move. I think it's called a Tiger Driver.
Right.
Did you?
Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like the no selling unless it's for a reason. You know what I mean? And then the thing that just made it more weird for me was that Taz was defending the kid, and it's like, look, I'm sorry. You can't cheer for a person whose dad's there defending them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it's like you're in a fight and you beat up this kid, and then his dad comes and takes off his shirt and says, "Oh, you want some of me now?" You know, do that to me, and it's just like, you know, let the kid defend himself. But you know, I know that Taz is very protective of Taz, and he's going to be protective of his son. And then Taz had posted a clip of I think it was Bret Hart and Tiger Mask, and Bret Hart threw a punch, knocked Tiger Mask down. Tiger Mask, when he took the back bump, jumped right back up, did a kip up, and then a spinning kick. And he's like, "Look, people have been no selling. There's a big difference in a punch and being dropped on your head."
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm surprised that they did that, but you know. Maybe some aspects of pro wrestling have just passed us by, you know, not all of it, but just little stuff like that. Like I you know, for him to be selling such a high impact move like really early in his career. I mean,
yeah.
and it's not.
And I mean,
one thing if he was like huge, like Goldberg or something, or even huge like Taz when he was wrestling. Like Taz he was small, like height wise, but he was really built.
He was like a fire plug.
Yeah. There you go.
But you got to think what Hawk kicked out of Lawler, come right up out of Lawler's pile driver, and
but that was.
Yeah, there's such a huge size.
But he's a monster. He's a fucking monster.
Right.
Well, I had the article that I sent Ariel had a clip of that too, but it was Taz. So it was like Taz took Lawler's pile driver and then jumped right back up. But there's a big difference in Taz being in the business 10 years and Hook being in the business, in his first or second match, I think it was, and doing that. So, but I am really glad that people are excited over,
Yeah, he's over. I mean, you can't deny that. So I mean, that's anytime somebody gets over, whether we get it or not, it's a good thing. Because hopefully that means it leads to more people watching and getting into wrestling. Because I'll be honest. Go ahead, Brad. Go ahead, Travis. I'm sorry.
I do have to say it's really nice being at a show and seeing that many women and kids there enjoying the show. Too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just got to figure out how to get the old people back in there.
Yeah. I think. Well, there were some older people there.
Yeah.
The older people just aren't going to buy the $500 ringside tickets anymore.
Oh my gosh, is that what they were?
No, I don't know what they were, but I mean, you could have went in there. I think our tickets were like $50 each, and they were good seats. There's really not any bad seats in there.
Were they floor?
No.
So like
balcony.
No, it's a bowl inside of there. There's really no balcony.
Okay.
We were up near the top, but
gotcha. Okay,
it's not a gigantic building either. So
that's cool. Yeah, I haven't been to any wrestling since I went to some really small indie show in like Elgin, Illinois, at a bar with a bunch of wrestlers that looked like they hadn't been working for very long. But I did get to see Lance Archer and Christopher Daniels, so that was pretty cool. But it was a pretty forgettable show. I would like to go see an AEW show for sure.
They're in Chicago all the fucking time.
Yeah, I know. And I have a connection to like get tickets too. It's like every time they're here, I either have to work or I'm sick. So hopefully the next time they're here,
you should schedule your vacations around the AEW schedule.
Yeah,
when are they going to be back in Chicago?
So I'm off for 4 days because Shannon's out of town, so I'm staying home with the kids, and then I'm taking another vacation like a week from now. Oh God! Listen, I don't want to work. I want to take 52 weeks of vacation. That's my goal.
But still get paid. Somehow still get paid.
And still get paid. Yes, absolutely. I should get paid for my services.
Actually, I'm surprised some of these places haven't paid you just to not show up anymore.
Dude, I wish. I try to push the envelope as much as I can, but it's just hasn't happened yet. It'll get there though. Just a matter of time.
No, it won't.
Yeah, I know, but I'd like to think that it would.
You can give up on that dream now.
Yeah, that's true. When I got laid off. Go ahead. Sorry, Travis. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to remind you that you're in your 40s. You're fat. You're balding.
Yeah.
Those are all marks in the check column. So.
That's right, bro. But when I got laid off by Dominic's, I took like 4 or 5 months off because I had like a severance and I had unemployment. I had some other stuff, and my goal was to never go back to work again, but that didn't work. So it was a nice dream while it lasted.
Sounds like a few people we know, right?
It sounds like someone we know. It sounds like a couple people we know. Oh man. But yeah, so AEW is pretty Like the clips I watch are looking pretty good, and actually some of the WWE stuff I've been watching is pretty good. And now WWE is working with Impact Wrestling. What do you think of that, there, Travis?
What's that do with AEW and Impact?
That ended a few pay-per-views ago.
Oh,
yeah, that because that ended up. If you look just at like ratings for Impact, all they did was go down the whole time they were working with AEW. And I'm not implying it's anybody's fault. That's just the way it worked.
And I think what they're trying to do really, they got to have 60 plus people for this upcoming pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And they've laid off a whole lot of people. Yeah. So are they doing this to kind of try to fill the Rumble? Because you got to have your other matches too. So
who knows? I think that other than, honestly, and I'm gonna be like the unpopular opinion here, other than like a handful of guys and gals that they've released, most of the guys they released weren't doing jack shit anyways. We can sit here and say, oh, Zaucha is creative, and he probably does. But at the end of the day, I mean, they weren't doing jack shit. Like Keith Lee was not, and I like Keith Lee outside of WWE, but once he got called to the main roster, like he was nothing. And I'm not saying his fault, but it's just the truth. And it's the aberration there to have
somebody get called up to the main roster and then they not do anything with them. That doesn't happen to anybody, right?
No, never. I could never imagine that happening in the WWE. they always push everybody right to the top. Yeah. And Keith Lee could have been good too. They just, I think, I'm guessing Vince just didn't see anything in him, which, that's his prerogative. I mean, there's people that Vince sees something in that I don't. I mean, sometimes it's just intangible you can't really point to. But like, they shouldn't have gotten rid of Regal. Regal's great, but a lot, like I said, for the most part, a lot of the guys they got rid of needed to go, and they were just wasting. They weren't going to do anything with them anyway. So what difference does it make? Not just going to keep paying them. I'll do jack shit.
I agree with you 100% that they should, if they're not using people, they should let them go. But I also think they shouldn't have grabbed and pulled those people, from different companies or different things, and thinking that they had a chance, like what's her name, Taya Valkyrie, or John Morrison. It's like, hey man, don't offer me a job if you plan on letting me go, at the first budget cuts or whatever.
Well, I'm telling you guys, I'm telling you, it'll be great for another company to come along right now. I'm telling you, if Jerry Jarrett at 79 years old decides he wants to get back into pro wrestling, let me know. Because there's so many people out there right now, and it's clear that Impact is never going to do anything. I mean, they're on a channel that 4 drunk people and a old man watches. I mean, nobody watches it. I wish I could say otherwise, but they don't watch it.
What channel is that?
I have no idea.
Oh,
what is it?
Are they on Axis?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when people are done watching, Grateful Dead documentaries, they're gonna watch, friggin' Moose wrestle on Impact Wrestling. I mean, they're not gonna do that.
Yeah, but what else though is like it doesn't pop up. Impact never pops up on my YouTube feed.
Really?
Never.
Wow.
It's always A&W. I mean, I'll see like something that's called Promo Joe, which would be like a really short clip of something that happened. Like usually it's like 30 seconds to a minute, and it's just CM Punk, a short little promo. But that's it. It's like I never ever see, hey, this is what happened on Impact, or here's the dark match or whatever. Never.
Right. And Impact, they have good wrestlers too. Like what's his name? Josh Alexander is really good. Like they have good guys there. It's just nobody's watching it, or very few people are watching it. I think they draw like 60,000 people, maybe like viewers or something. It's nothing. It's non-existent.
Yeah, I read through the pay-per-view that they had last night. I thought, man, that was like a lot of like really, really good people. I mean, a lot of the ones that I don't know, like Trey McGill or, but yeah, like he was, I think, one of the Little Rascals or whatever.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and then two of them went to WWE and he didn't. But yeah, Matt Cardona, I love that dude when he was in the WWE. I thought he was completely underutilized.
Yeah, me too. So did he.
Yeah. And then he did that stuff like the Game Changer, and where he comes out there and shits all over stuff and cusses, and I'm like, dude, that is exactly what that guy needed. So I hope that in his life, he is financially set to where he doesn't have to, go out and do this crazy stuff or beg for bookings, because it's really cool to see him once a month or twice a month doing these things. I know he's got his wrestling figure podcast.
Right. Oh yeah, that's right. He does. I should add that to my list of things I listen to. Worthless podcasts I listen to. I just added the AWA wrestling podcast to my rotation. I'm like, Jesus Christ. All I listen to is podcasts all day.
I didn't even know there was one.
Yeah,
who does it?
Just started. Mick Karch, George Shire, and some other guy.
George Shire. I love to hear that dude talk.
Yeah, he's great. He's great. What do you think, Travis? You like the AWA, or is that a little before your time?
That's a little before my time.
Yeah. What the hell do you know, anyways?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you like Jim Crockett Promotions, though, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. But 84 to 86, Jim Crockett Promotions. It's hard to beat that.
Travis, what was your first Jim Crockett show that you went to?
Oh, I never went to a Crockett show. I wasn't old enough to go to a Crockett show.
Yeah, he's a baby.
Yeah.
He's not.
Well, I remember. I should look it up and find the exact one that I went to. So I have tried to find the ones that I went with my parents. So I remember one seeing the Masked Superstar, who was one of my favorite wrestlers, and Blackjack Mulligan, who was also one of my favorite wrestlers. And they were in a match, and they did the thing where they picked Tommy Young up and set him on the top rope to get him out of the way, where they're like, hey, we just want each other so bad, get out of the way, ref.
Yeah.
And they did that a couple times, and I remember that. So I had to be 3 or 4. I tried to, and it's so stupid how I remember this, but Mike Davis wrestled Cowboy Frankie Lane, and I have been trying to find that whole card and cannot find it anywhere.
Really?
Yeah. And then, so I remember going to 2, and it may have been Winston-Salem and Greensboro, or they may have both been in Winston-Salem. But then I went to a Greensboro show when I was 12 or 13 with my friend. And now when I think back at this, it was kind of crazy. So we drove from Mount Airy, which is where I grew up, and with my friend's parents. They dropped us off at the Greensboro Coliseum and said, we'll pick you back up here at 11 o'clock or whatever.
Wow.
And so they just dropped us off here in the Greensboro Coliseum with, who knows, child molesters, murderers running around in there.
Well, those were just the people that were in the ring.
Yeah.
That was just the roster. People in the crowd were fine. They were well-balanced people.
Yeah.
The people getting paid to do it, they're the ones that had problems.
And the only thing I remember about that one is David Allen Coe saying,
"Oh God, was that a Great American Bash?"
Yeah.
Oh, that's badass. Wow,
so
that's awesome.
So let me think about it. So I was born in 73, so it had to be 86.
Wow, you went to a bash show?
Yeah.
Holy crap, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I got set out.
That's awesome. I remember.
It's amazing I'm alive.
Yeah, right, exactly. We're going to say, Travis, I'm sorry. I was about to talk over you.
Too bad it wasn't a Delbert McClintock bash.
Who?
Yeah. Yeah, he's also a country singer that did a bunch of those bash shows.
Yeah.
I can't think of what song he sings. What is it?
I really don't even know. But I mean, that's what the people of Philadelphia wanted, was somebody that they had never heard of doing a concert in the middle of a wrestling show.
There's nothing that the city of brotherly love more love. Forget it. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Sorry.
Yeah.
Tongue tied. Yeah, I remember reading in PWI like all the results from the Bash shows. I'm like, gee whiz, I wish I could have gone to one of these shows. That would have been amazing. Because it was like, I think every Bash had Wahoo versus Jimmy Garvin in a strap match. I'm like, I want to see Wahoo just murder this dastardly gorgeous Jimmy Garvin, and I didn't get to see any of it, so I was really pissed. I don't think they started coming to Chicago till like 87, but even then they came to the UIC Pavilion, and my dad insisted that was a terrible neighborhood. And I don't know if it was or not, but I really wanted to go to Starrcade 87 to see Flair versus Ronnie Garvin in the rematch for the NWA World Title, but I couldn't go. So, and I couldn't order it on pay-per-view either because our cable didn't carry it. So I had to watch Survivor Series instead, which was fun. Rather have seen. What'd you say?
That was during the war, when if you want mine, you can't have theirs.
That's it. That's exactly right. Exactly right. But we did order. We ordered Bunkhouse Stampede the next month, or 2 months later, whatever the hell it was, to watch terrible battle royal where people got thrown over the top of a cage. I'm like, okay, I know that wrestling isn't real, but Jesus Christ, come on. It's like they're climbing to the top of the cage, like waiting to get thrown over. I'm like, all right. Then you just have a regular battle royal. And then they have Luger in it. Luger doesn't even win. Don't even get me started on all the crimes against Lex Luger that were perpetrated from 88 through 1990. Good gracious. And then 93.
Man, I loved Lex Luger when he had like the 5 o'clock shadow.
Oh yeah, that was awesome when he was in Florida.
Yeah, when he first came to Mid-Atlantic, I think he had it there too.
Oh, the 5 o'clock shadow was badass.
Yeah, and he would wear like a white tank top.
Yeah, the white tank top. Yeah, dude, Luger was awesome. I wish he had won the championship like 50 times. I wanted him to beat Flair so bad, and then when he got screwed at Bash 88 when they stopped the match due to a trickle of blood, I'm like, this is bullshit. This is some real bullshit. And then he just kept losing every time he would fight Flair. I'm like, come on. What is going on here?
Yeah, you know, he was way over. I had a cousin who was probably 10 years older than I am, and he grew his hair in a mullet, had the 5 o'clock shadow, wore the white tank top. And one time he beat up my cousin who was like just a year or two older than me, so a huge age difference, right? You know, where one's like over 18 and the other one's not. So my cousin who got beat up, his dad saw it at the end of it, and he went up and challenged, who was older, my uncle, obviously older, challenged my Lex Luger looking cousin. And so my cousin ripped off his white wife beater, like Hulk Hogan, and then he flexed, the muscles coming together, and my uncle clocked him right in the face and knocked him out.
That's great.
Yes, right, and he knocked out my cousin on his own mama's porch with one punch. After that, I was like, "Dang, my uncle is a badass." He just knocked out this Lex Luger looking guy, my cousin.
That's hilarious. You're like, man, I thought you were a tough Lex Luger, and you got your ass.
Yeah, well, it's like when you're a kid, you're dumb, right? I tell my kids all the time, like, kids are dumbasses. Don't listen to what they say. Don't take their advice. They're dumbasses. They don't know nothing. When you're a kid, you know nothing. Yeah. You're stupid. And so my cousin, I'm a kid, and I think, my cousin is big. He's built. He's got muscles. He's got the facial hair like Lex Luger. He's got the mullet like Lex Luger. He wears the wife beater like Lex Luger. So I'm thinking my cousin's gonna take my uncle. I'm like, when you're a kid, you think that your uncles and your relatives are older than what they are. It's like, oh man, he's an old man. He's 40. Right. And my uncle clocked that dude and knocked him out cold, laying there snoring on his mama's porch. So yeah, I thought Lex Luger was a badass then, and I he never got me with his talking, probably because he didn't have a southern accent.
Right.
or kind of was born and did the flex. But I thought, man, the one with the beard and the white tank top was badass.
Yeah, it was a good look. Yeah, Luger was awesome. He was. What do you think, Travis? Did you like Lex Luger, or were you more of a Big Bubba Rogers fan?
I like Luger.
I love
The problem with Luger is well, we need a baby face. Well, we'll turn Lex face.
Yeah.
Like, well, now we need a heel. Well, we'll just turn Lex.
We'll just
heel.
turn Lex again. Yeah. Yeah. True.
Yeah.
I hated that.
And even what is it at the Great American Bash where Hogan turned?
Oh, Bash at the Beach.
Bash at the Beach, where Hogan turned. Luger was like, "Are you committed?" That was the real question. Was he committed? Because he had done this shit before. So.
Right. I liked when they had Luger beat Hogan in Detroit.
Yeah.
For the title, that was amazing. When he made Hogan tap.
And what a glorious title run that was.
Yeah, that was more bullshit. You know what? Luger should have just went in the ring and kicked Hogan right in his balls. Just pinned him. to get around creative. And you know what? Like, let's say Luger, all right, so he wins the belt on Nitro, right? So then they get to the Road Wild pay-per-view that Saturday. And Bischoff pulls Luger aside and says, "Listen, you're going to put Hulk over tonight." And Luger's like, "Well, this is bull crap. I just won the belt. I want to hang on to it for a little bit." And they're like, "No, you got to. Hogan has creative control." Like, okay. So Luger should have went in the ring, kicked Hogan right in the balls, and just pinned him. Taken the belt, got in his car, went home. And then when Bischoff's like, "You're fired. You're a breach of contract," Luger be like, "Okay." He calls Vince, "Hey, I got the belt. Can I come back?" And he'd be like, "Sure, absolutely." Luger, the original screw job. Lex Luger kicks Hogan. I'm just picturing Hogan getting kicked in his racist balls and just crumbling to the mat, laying down for Lex Luger. And then Luger shows up on Raw and then drops the title to Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels unifies the WWF and WCW titles. Oh my God, that would be amazing. They would have won the Monday Night War a year ahead of time. See, they don't have the forward thinking I do.
Man, I'm telling you, that is some great fantasy looking.
Luger, who is not known for being a tough guy, gets in the ring and kicks Hulk Hogan square in his nuts and pins him.
That was his Brody moment.
That was his bro. He's like, he looks up at the sky and says, "Now I get it, Frank," and gets in his car and goes home.
Yeah.
With Bill Alfonso chasing him. "Hey, Daddy, where you going?"
Hey, here's the card from the show that I was at, the Greensboro Coliseum. All right, so Mr. Electricity Steve Regal pinned Sam Houston.
Okay, good start.
Black Bart and the Barbarian defeated Denny Brown and Italian Stallion.
I was gonna say, where's Denny Brown? Okay, that sounds. You know what? That match was probably pretty decent, actually.
It says here footnotes: Denny Brown managed by Handsome Howard.
Okay, I don't think that. I think you're making that part up.
It was
you're right.
1 week. It was part of that week, right?
Manny Fernandez pinned Baron von Raschke in a loaded glove on a pole match.
Wow, that match sounds like it would have been pretty exciting had it been anybody but Baron von Raschke.
Wahoo McDaniel defeated Jimmy Garvin in a Indian strap match.
Oh wow, very nice. A nice Native American strap match.
This website's got like good notes. It's like, Garvin escaped behind Wahoo, and then Wahoo pulled him back into the ring and gave him a chop.
I loved Wahoo McDaniel. I don't care how old he looked or how old he was. I always loved Wahoo McDaniel.
Yeah, me too. And Wahoo also looked like one of those guys who's like your old uncle, right?
Yeah.
But Wahoo got in the ring and he could go. I mean, even when he was a little heavier, he could still go. I mean, he had some lungs on him.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I used to hate it when I would wrestle with my cousin, and he would either be Wahoo McDaniel, because he would start like no selling, and then grab me by my hair and then dance around me and then do the chop, or when he would be Jimmy Valiant, and he. I couldn't do anything with him. I couldn't even get him to lock up with me because he's just bouncing all over the place.
Oh my God.
So then we had Tully Blanchard defeated Ron Garvin in a take fist match.
Yeah, that would have been phenomenal.
And then we've got Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson versus Ole and Arn Anderson in a 20-minute time limit draw.
Oh, man.
Paul Jones pinned Jimmy Valiant in a hair versus hair match, and that's when they shaved Boogie's head.
You were at that show? Holy crap.
And then Best of 7 series, Magnum TA pinned Nikita Koloff with Ivan Koloff with a sunset flip. It was match 4. Magnum 1, Koloff 3.
Yeah, he was down by 3. Wow, that's awesome.
The Road Warriors and Baby Doll defeated Jim Cornette and the Midnight Express.
Okay,
Baby Doll pinned Jim Cornette with a right hand punch after yanking him down from the top rope. And then Dusty Rhodes pinned Ric Flair to become the world champion.
Dude, you were there and you didn't even remember? Come on, man. You weren't even really there, were you?
You know what? I may not have been there at that. No, I had to be, because I remember Dusty coming out and singing with David Allen Coe, and Ricky Morton came out. Yeah, I remember that.
Wow, that must have been like Simon and Garfunkel. Yeah.
More like Simon and Barfunkel.
Oh, that's a great show to have been at. Holy crap. So Magnum came back from the 3-0 deficit. Dusty Rhodes won the world's heavyweight title. And that's huge, man.
Yeah, I wish I remembered more of it, but I basically remember running around and not being in our seats. And we were up like, we weren't down on the bottom. We were up like a couple levels.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. But that wasn't your first wrestling show. Your first
No, my parents used to take me to like the local indies when I was a kid.
That's awesome.
And so one of my earliest ones I remember was at like the Y in our town, and it had Bulldog Brower was there.
Oh wow!
And I knew him as a bad heel. And so my dad was holding me and said, "Oh, look, it's Bulldog Brower." And I immediately start crying. And he genuinely felt bad. He goes, "Oh, no, kid, it's okay. I'm really nice. I'm sorry."
Cool. Wow.
Yeah, he apologized to my dad. And I shook Jay Youngblood's hand. He was like one of my favorites. And it was him and Johnny Weaver. And I don't remember who they were against, but the finish was... so at this time I had to be, I was crying in my dad's arms, maybe 16 or 17. No,
I feel like I was yesterday.
I was probably 3 or 4. And so the finish was Johnny Weaver, the heel had Johnny Weaver in like a front face lock, and Jay Youngblood came off the top rope, dove over both of them, and did the sunset flip. That was the finish.
Yeah, another guy gone too soon. Jay Youngblood was really good.
Man, what was crazy is my sister loved Ricky Steamboat, probably because he was attractive. I liked Jay Youngblood mainly, probably, I don't know why, but maybe because we used to vacation up in Cherokee, North Carolina every year, so I liked the Native American gimmick. And but when I go back and watch him now, it's like that dude never smiled. Yeah. Show you a time where he was happy.
Yeah, that's true. Well, he might have been messed up on something. Maybe he was waiting for his next eye.
Yeah, so when I see him now, I think, man, that was like one point one of my favorites, and here he just doesn't look happy. And I feel sad. It's like, damn.
Yeah. Yeah, he was good. Him and Restivo are an awesome team. I like Jay Youngblood. And then all of a sudden, I hear on TV, or I read I think I might have read in the magazines that he had died. Like, holy crap. That's really young to die. But then I had already seen 17 Von Erichs die at that point, so I should have been sensitized to it, or desensitized to it, after watching World Class Championship Wrestling.
I was trying to figure out where I watched it, but I did. I watched World Class like starting. I don't know. The Great Kabuki was there, and I watched it all through the Von Erichs and the Freebirds. So
you might have. What was it? The Christian Broadcast Network, or
it was originally, yeah, the Christian Broadcast. Where you watched it, Frankie?
It may have been like a UHF. I'm trying to think if we had cable then, because we didn't have cable for a long time. So it may have been like a UHF channel there in North Carolina.
Yeah, I watched it on.
I know
it was like channel 60 here in Chicagoland.
Well, I heard McAdam putting it over on his podcast saying that they got it, and it was huge. He said that for like some show in the Boston or somewhere, they just randomly announced, hey, next month we're going to have Michael Hayes versus S.D. Jones, and the crowd popped because they all recognize Michael Hayes from World Class.
Yeah.
And actually, World Class ran some shows up in New England.
Yeah, they did.
Because they had that reach, because of the 700 Club, pretty much.
What year was that?
Is that like 84, 85? Right, Travis?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think so. That they were looking for some good, wholesome wrestling content for the Christian Broadcast Network. So they went to a good, wholesome American family, Von Erich. And
sure.
I know it's kind of crazy when you say it now, right? It's like you look back on it and you're like, all right, well, on the outside, we've all known those people, right? That look like they got their stuff together on the outside, and then you see them, 6 months later at the gas station, and they're like borrowing $5 off of you to get a pack of smokes. You're like, dang, I thought you were doing really well. You know what I mean? I mean, that's kind of how I feel about the Von Erichs. Is like, man, they look good. I mean, look at like the body on, Kevin and Kerry, and look great, but man, they had a lot going on mentally.
Yeah, that's too bad. The Von Erichs were great. I love the Von Erichs. Even after you hear about their, vices and demons or whatever, like when I see old Von Erich stuff now, it's like, man, I'm still able to like take myself out of that and be like, man, these guys are really good.
And really aggressive, right?
Oh God, yeah, especially Kevin. He was nailing guys.
Yeah, he looked like he was nailing people, like hitting them as hard as he could.
Man,
he wrestled barefoot too. You know that?
Yeah, that's tough. I can't imagine wrestling without shoes on. I can't imagine wrestling. Period. Much less.
Gosh, no.
But he did it.
Yes, you admit to not making an in-ring return?
I don't think so. Frankie, there's video of me wrestling in some guy's backyard in like a luchador mask, and I'm wrestling my nephew in one of the worst displays of quote unquote professional wrestling I've ever seen. But it's fantastic because it's so stupid. It's so bad. It's so bad. It's worse.
Yeah. No.
So,
and the ring is awful. It's not even a ring. It's not.
The ring is a ring in name only.
Yeah. There are ropes. There are ropes and there are posts, and I use both those terms very loosely. Just like those ropes and posts.
I'm gonna watch that again later. It's so awful, but it's fantastic. I wish I could still I wish I still had like a smidgen of cardio, because I'd love to do like another match, just because I love wrestling so much. It would just, I can't imagine like having somebody get me in even a working headlock. I'm like, I tap out. I'm too tired.
Do you think you could go? I think you might have a chance against your nephew, though.
Yeah. Maybe we can have a tickle fight or something.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh God.
When my daughter was in wrestling, we used to take her gymnastics mats out in the backyard, and then she and I would put together like a little sequence, right? And so, I've said it before, they're not really my kids. My wife was married before. They're this other dude's kids. So every other week they go over to this other guy's house, right? And I mean, he's not just another guy; he's their dad. But they're my kids too. So anyway, she was all into it. So I taught her some sequences. We did some spots,
Oh,
and
cool.
she loved it. And she took gymnastics for 4 or 5 years, so she could do flips and whatever. And so she went to her dad's, and this is back before the pandemic, and she was all in the WWE and Becky Lynch and whatever. And so she got her dad to do this wrestling with her, and she sent me the video. I could not stop laughing, and because you just imagine you never watched wrestling, right? And you never were into it, and now your kid wants you to wrestle with him, and he's very competitive. Everything is a competition, so he has to feel like that he's winning. So he can't tell her no when she says, "Hey, Dad, will you do this wrestling match with me that Frankie does?" So he had to do it. So he had no clue, and she's having to tell him, what to do in the whole thing, and it's also very sweet, because if you got kids, you'll do anything for your kids, right? You'll bury the body, you'll throw it in the trunk, and it's like, here's this guy, and he's trying his best to do this wrestling thing, probably not knowing she's recording it and that she's going to send it to me and her mom, and then we'll have a good laugh at it.
That's great.
But I told him, I was like, man, that was awesome. I'm like, you did great for your first time. I said, you just got to remember, she's got to go over, bud.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. He double crosses his own daughter. He gets the tights for the victory. It's like, what?
Oh yeah,
put your own kid over. Yeah. That's awesome.
Is that how you're gonna win the CWF Legends Fan Fest title back from River? You're gonna cinch up the small package?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh man, no, I feel like they will start telling some secrets. It's like when I saw them arguing, or commenting on when you were in the restaurant trying to get us a seat and pulling up all your credentials of being a popular co-host on podcasts.
Yeah,
they were like, no one cares, Dad. No one cares.
Yeah, well, they're gonna find out real quick. Many people care. On all my accolades in the wrestling podcasting world. Yeah, I noticed that Stick to Wrestling. I've been looking at. I have some inside information. Their ratings ever since I was on there, they've just tanked. Like when I was on it, it skyrocketed, but now they're like getting Impact level ratings. I'm just saying.
Well,
I'm not having fly.
There's only one person that can save their ratings.
Yeah, who's that? I like to hear.
Brandon Rice.
Brandon Rice, yeah. He's been on there enough. I'm done talking to him too. I'm going to block him on Facebook. Actually, you know what? He hasn't been on lately. What's going on? Is he okay?
I was thinking that the same thing today, man. I haven't seen him. I need to reach out to him.
Hold on a second. I'm going to check right now. I think I messaged him. He didn't respond. Maybe we're not friends anymore. I said, hey, where are you at? I said that a few days ago. I don't think he's been on. Maybe he's upset that the Bulls lost today.
Maybe.
I know I am. I don't know. Somebody needs to get a hold of him. Find out where he's at.
Hey, Chris, so how long does it take you to drive to Chicago?
On the off chance I go to Chicago, which is hardly ever, it's a little over an hour. It's not that far.
Okay. But where you live is pretty like urban, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Chicago's way down there, down 90.
Yeah.
Yeah. He lives in the suburbs. Which you're what, like 40 miles from Chicago?
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty accurate. But with our suburb, like where we live, it's nice because we have everything by us. Like as far as like stores and stuff. But as far as like if you want to go anywhere, like if you want to go see a sport or a concert or whatever, you got to go far. Unless they're playing in Hoffman Estates, then it's not as bad. Because that's where AEW usually has their shows. That's only like 20 minutes. As a matter of fact, GCW is going to be here this Saturday. I had no idea. And it's Ricky Morton against Matt Cardona. And it's like probably 20 minutes from my house. And I have to work.
Who owns that? Who owns GCW?
Who do you know who owns that, Travis? That's I have no idea.
I really don't know.
For the longest time, I thought Joey Janela had an ownership in it.
Maybe. Let's see here. Who owns GCW? Brett Lauderdale.
Yes, I did see
that
his
guy.
name.
Do you know who that is, or are you just being a smartass?
No, I have no clue.
Yeah, I don't know.
God, I don't know who he is either.
I don't. Yeah.
Is he related to Fort Lauderdale?
He is. He is actually. Yes. This is his nephew.
All right. Well, I know Fort.
Yeah. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
He's a good man. I'm glad we talked about '93 WCW.
Yeah. For 20 seconds.
That's okay. We'll do that next time. That's okay.
Let me read about Game Changer. Started 1999 as Jersey Championship Wrestling.
Wow.
I guess that would have been trying to filter the talent from ECW.
Did you guys go to any ECW shows?
I never did. Did you go, Trap?
No, they never had any shows near me, and like going to wrestling shows was something that I did not have the opportunity to go to.
Yeah, they had what's it called? They had Anarchy Rules '99 in Villa Park, which isn't super far from me. But again, I had to work that night. I was so pissed. That was the night Taz lost the belt to Mike Awesome in the three-way dance with Mike Awesome and Masato Tanaka.
So I went to one at the ECW Arena. And let me see if I can find the program for that one. So I had just gotten back from Korea and I was in the military. And that's where I found ECW on the cable there in the barracks. It was it was Crossing the Line Again.
Oh, okay.
So that was the night that Paul E announced that there would be a pay-per-view.
Oh wow, you were there?
Yeah, so that's how it started with them in the ring. So it was Luis Piccoli versus Mike Awesome.
Oh Jesus.
Balls Mahoney and Lance Storm. Lance had his rat tail. I remember that.
Thank God.
Stevie Richards beat Ricky Morton. Ricky Morton had like a Confederate flag pants on. And so this was 96, right? Oh, yeah. February 1st, 97. Oh, so I got out of the military February 24th, 97. So I probably wrestled Ricky Morton either that same year or the 98.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah. So probably it wasn't the same year. No. It may have been. It may have been later in the year. So that's crazy for me to think about. I have to look that up. And then Dr. Death pinned Axel Rotten. And then I remember that Raven came in the ring and they fought. Raven hit Williams over the head a couple times with a chair and he juiced. And then Raven hit the DDT and beat Williams. Devon was against the Sandman. The gangsters got in the ring.
Was that Brandon or Travis? What'd you say?
What the fuck you call me?
I'm really sorry. I confused you with Brandon Rice. You guys look so much alike.
I can see how you could make, that mistake.
You guys look and sound exactly the same.
We really do. We really do. It's unusual.
The Eliminators defended the belts against Rob Van Dam and Sabu. Taz came in the ring to confront Sabu, but they just, did the stare off. Terry Funk defeated Tommy Rich. And main event, the Pitbulls and Tommy Dreamer went against Brian Lee, Chris Candido, and Shane Douglas.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I remember them breaking one of the guardrails, and I was just really blown away by that. And another weird thing that happened was there were in the parking lot while we were waiting in line. Well, first of all, I'll say this: I grew up in the country in North Carolina, but at that point, I'd been in the military for about 4 years, 4.5 years almost, and so we got to Philadelphia and we drove from Fort Eustis, Virginia, me and another dude, and I had to use the bathroom really bad. So we pull over at a gas station in Philadelphia, and I remember we took the exit that was like right after the Spectrum. So we go to this gas station, and I say to the clerk, "Hey, can I use the bathroom? I need a key. It's locked." And so they hand me a whole cinder block with a chain and a key on it.
Wow.
And I said, "What's this?" She said, "This is the key. Here's the key. You got to take this whole thing." I said, "No, never mind. I'm good." So I passed her back the cinder block. True freaking story. So we went down the street and I saw a Chuck E. Cheese. So I thought that, okay, Chuck E. Cheese, I can go to Chuck E. Cheese and pee, right? So I go in there and it was dark, like the windows were blocked or something. It was like a nightclub, and this is probably 4 or 5 in the afternoon, and the music's like people are smoking like blunts and stuff, and it's
Wow.
like club music. Kids are running around, and the parents are smoking like crazy. And I went straight to the bathroom, and people were looking at me like I'm weird. And then I got right back out, and I said, "Oh my gosh, that was the scariest Chuck E. Cheese I've ever seen in my entire life." And then we went to the show. Standing in line for the show, there was some kids that were either behind us or beside us, and all of a sudden, these two guys that looked like Devon and Bubba walked up. I mean, they were big guys, and they looked like him. I don't know. May have been. I don't know. Or they may have just been, Marks dressed like them. And they come up and they start trying to pick a fight with these kids that were beside us. And I was like, oh my gosh, man. And I was just thinking, oh, if I get up here and get in a fight and get in trouble, get kicked out of the military, I'll lose, whatever. But luckily that went okay. And then we sat in the bleachers with our backs to the camera behind the crow's nest. But it was like the energy was just through the roof in that place, because they opened it up. If you've ever seen it, they opened it up with Paulie in the ring with a bunch of wrestlers. And he's, telling the fans it's because of them that they're able to have the pay-per-view.
That's cool. That's really cool. And you were there. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, and I remember most of that, but some of that stuff from my childhood, it's back there with those repressed memories. But I saw them 2 other times. I saw them in Raleigh at the Ritz, and then I saw them in Columbia, South Carolina.
That's awesome. Oh. I never got to see ECW live. I wish I did. But
at the Raleigh show, there was what was the guy's name in WCW? Reno.
Yeah. Reno.
Well, he was at the ECW show, so he looked like a big bodybuilder, and he had like this one little ponytail, like the Mongols or somebody else would have. Right. And he was there walking around, and then there was a guy that was smaller than him that was doing the same. Oh, Reno Riggins, yeah, that was doing the exact same thing. Oh no, that was just Reno Cornell, Richard Cornell. And there was another guy that was like his same size, wearing the exact same clothes as he was. Me and my friend that I was there with were like looking at them like they're just marks dressed up. But I don't know if he'd already started training or whatever by that point. That was probably 98, 99.
Yeah, I think Reno in WCW. He was one of the few bright spots of very dismal last year of World Championship Wrestling. I thought Reno was pretty solid.
Had a good look. Well, so his buddy must have lifted weights with him or something. But I tried to figure out who his buddy was because they had the exact same haircut, and I didn't know them from any of the independents around North Carolina or South Carolina or Virginia.
Right. Yeah, no, he was good. He was good. I don't think he did anything after WCW. They may have worked indies or something. I know WWF.
Well, according to Wikipedia, he went to the WWE, wrestled a dark match, and that was it. He went and wrestled in Australia, and then he was done in 2003.
Wow, holy crap, man! He wasn't around long at all.
No.
But really, at that point in 2003, what were your options? You had WWF, or you could maybe get into TNA, and maybe some indies. It wasn't like back in the day where there were like a bunch of places, a bunch of good paying places you can go to. There's still lots of places you can go to, may not make any money. That's the problem. You go to Impact, they pay you in like a Blockbuster gift card.
Man, that's true. I mean, thinking back of what I did, it was just stupid because we just did it out of the love because we were marks and whatever, right? But man, who would want to do that stuff after being on TV and have to go beat down doors and try and get all the work that you got to do and all that crap.
Yeah, that's got to be a hard bitter pill to swallow. I mean, and people do it, so I mean, I guess it can be done, but I can't imagine being like featured heavily on nationally or internationally broadcast television show to now I'm wrestling, in Chesapeake, West Virginia, whatever town it's called, in front of 9 people,
Well, I hear people crap on the wrestler movie, but I liked it, and I could actually relate to a lot of the stuff that was going on and how this guy's a star in the ring, and then he's got to go out and work his regular old 9 to 5.
Yeah.
What did y'all think?
Movie, I liked it.
It was a good movie.
That's it. That's all you have to say about it. It's a good movie. Jesus Christ! Wow. Well, thank you for that. Thanks for that insight. I feel like I watched it there right next to you.
Yeah.
But no, really, thanks. That was really mind blowing. Like, Siskel and Ebert got nothing on you. Jesus.
I give it 2 Orange Cassidy thumbs up.
Yeah, I watched it a long time. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I remember when I saw it. I mean, and it was a lot of like what wrestling was. And I thought Mickey Rourke played that, grizzled vet. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, he had the good look for it.
The face that looked like it caught on fire and someone tried to put it out with an ice pick.
Yeah. That's a good analogy. Good description.
And now he just looks like he went to a discount plastic surgeon.
Oh God, no kidding.
I haven't seen anything that he's been in recently, but man, I can only imagine.
Yeah, I think the last movie I saw him in was that Iron Man 2, maybe. I'm sure he's done other stuff. That's the last thing I can think of, though.
Yeah.
What did he play there?
He did.
The lead heel. I don't know what his name was.
Yeah.
Probably
You're supposed to know there's Doctor Strange.
Yeah, sorry. I'm really, my Marvel knowledge is limited to a few characters and a few movies. I've only seen the first Iron Man. I didn't see the second one, but I know he was in it. I didn't see the third one either.
Whiplash.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense because he used a whip.
Yeah.
And Lash wouldn't have sounded good, so they went with Whiplash.
Whiplash LaRue?
Whiplash LaRue, exactly. Oh, that was huge. He's another guy that I thought was pretty decent, too. And then WWF bought the competition, and then that was it. I think he went to Heartland Wrestling after that.
Yeah, then he had to get a real job.
Yeah, it's a lot of guys. If you ever read the Nitro book, I don't know if you guys have read it, but it's absolutely one of the best wrestling books I've ever read. You get
look.
Yeah. Yes.
Look, Shannon read it to you. Okay?
Well, yeah. I looked at the pictures though.
Yeah.
I was able to identify everybody in the pictures. I'm like, that's Hulk. Yeah, that's a great book. But you get an idea about like how how things were at the end when the way the McMahons came in, or the McMahon company or the WWE company came in, and just, they went to the offices in Smyrna, Georgia, or whatever, and they were like searching all the employees to make sure they weren't trying to smuggle anything out of there. It's a great book. David Crockett's featured in it a lot because he was there till the very end.
Yeah. Well, both. Jackie was still there too, wasn't he?
I believe so. Yeah, Jackie was there.
Yeah.
David was there. Jim was long gone. I know they kept him on as like consultant, like in the early Turner days, but I think he was long gone by then. And really, the company went bankrupt under Jim Crockett. I mean, what kind of advice they could ask him? Hey, we know you bankrupted this company. We had to bail you out, but we really want to ask you some questions because clearly you have some great advice to give us. And what's he gonna say? Oh, just have Dusty book it up? Well, no.
Yeah, that's what he told him. He said, "Hey, just do whatever Dusty says. Buy whatever Dusty wants." And that worked out really well for WCW there for a few years.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, the funny thing is that like when I hear other fans talk about like NW or Jim Crockett promotions in particular in like 87, 88, they don't look back on it nearly as fondly as I do. I thought 87, 88 were awesome. Like 86 was great too, obviously. 86 was probably the best part.
And that's the problem. 86 was so good that it was kind of hard to keep that momentum up.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And they went down a little bit, but not a lot.
Yeah, it's not like it dropped off like a cliff like WCW did it, like from like between 99 and 2000. Jesus Christ. That was like watching somebody get murdered.
And that was a little bit of a cooling off period too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you figure 87, that's when WWF, they had WrestleMania 3 and they just became unstoppable at that point. Like there was nothing that no other promotion could offer that was going to compare to what they had in the WWF. Unless Jim Crockett like signed Randy Savage, there was nothing they had that was going to overshadow Hogan. Babyface Randy Savage and Jim Crockett Promotions in 87 after WrestleMania 3 would have been something, but obviously that's a fantasy that would never happen. Because at that point, like even in 87, like Kerry, if they had said, well, let's bring in Kerry Von Erich, I mean, he had been injured at that point anyway, so Kerry Von Erich wasn't nearly the draw that he was. Nobody was going to compete with Hogan and the Hogan machine at that point. Sadly.
The Giant Machine.
Well, there was Giant Machine too, yeah, and Super Machine.
Yeah.
And
Micro Machine.
Micro Machines, yeah, there was yeah. Yeah, those were great times. WWF was awesome too. Like I preferred NWA, but WWF was badass. It's not like they didn't have good wrestlers. I mean, they had Steamboat, Savage, Piper, Hogan, Demolition, Rick Martel, Tito. One man gang. I'm just gonna name the roster until somebody interrupts me.
Now keep going. I want to see if you can name the entire roster.
Johnny Rods.
Yeah.
So Blackjack Mulligan was there in 87 for a brief period of time at Wrestling in His Pajamas.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah, and then WCW hired Hogan and brought all those guys into WCW.
Yeah, they brought Hogan. Yeah, they brought in Earthquake.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great time. Dungeon of Doom was amazing.
Oh yeah, it really was. It would bring in everyone that Hogan's already beat, so Hogan can beat them all at once.
So you beat them again, yeah. So you beat them all at once, yeah. They should have They should have went a little. They should have pushed the big Bubba Rogers a little harder. Like they did put him over Sting in '95. They had him beat Sting clean. I thought that was going to be the big beginning of a big push for a big Bubba Rogers, but I guess I was wrong.
Well, what was his finish? Or what was the finish of that match?
What, Big Bubba and Sting?
Yeah.
I don't remember. It was at Uncensored '95, so there were no rules, so it's not like he would have cheated because it's uncensored.
Was
But
he? Oh yeah. I guess he was Bubba then, because after the Dungeon of Dooms, when he started that.
Yeah.
What was that one gimmick he had with the beret?
Oh, Guardian Angel. Yeah, this was after Guardian Angel.
That's right.
Yeah, the Guardian Angel.
Good God.
That was something. That was he had his magical red beret. And you can't. They were just trying to figure. I can't fault them for that. Like, maybe I couldn't have thought of anything better. I probably could have. I think like maybe my dog could probably think of something better than being a Guardian Angel. But who am I to say? I never booked a wrestling promotion, so I can't be hyper.
Did you ever?
Was that?
Did they have the Guardian Angels in Chicago?
No. I thought that was just in New York City, wasn't it?
I think so.
I
really don't know.
I a bunch of people in white T-shirts with wearing red berets. I feel safe all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Like, oh, here comes Mario. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Guardians, so stupid.
Should have worn raspberry berets.
Yeah, that's what they needed, were raspberry berets.
Yep.
I hate wrestling sometimes. Every time they're like, hey, we got a new gimmick for you. It's called the Guardian Angel. And every time heel hits you, you're going to give him 3 strikes. You remember this, Travis, or no?
Oh, God.
So, I don't know if you remember this, Frankie, but when the Big Boss Man / Big Bubba / Ray Trailer / Guardian Angel became the Guardian Angel, in his matches, he would give the heel three strikes. So if the heel did like dirty tactics to him 3 times, then he would like Hulk up and start beating him up. I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
I like wrestling a lot, but this is super duper dumb.
That is dumb. That's like some of the dumbest stuff I've ever heard in my entire life.
Guardian Angel.
I mean, it's complete opposite of what made him, the big boss man, right? It's like Big Boss Man. He was going to handcuff you and beat you with a nightstick.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm a good guy, so therefore I'm going to give you
3 times.
3 times.
The guy should have just kicked him. What's that?
He was the face. He was the face when he left WWF.
Yeah, he was babyface up until something happened. I think it was like beginning of '95. He was still Guardian Angel, and then he did some heelish stuff. And Mean Gene interviewed him, and he said, this seems like you're reverting back to Big Bubba Rogers days. And I'm thinking, yeah, Mean Gene, you don't know who Big Bubba Rogers is, you liar. But then he came out with the suit and everything. Like, oh man, I wish they would have Cornette come out with him, but I knew that was never going to happen.
And then he was like a biker, I guess.
Oh, and towards the end of WCW.
Yeah.
Yeah, that he was terrible. I'm like, oh my god, because he was really good, and then he was just garbage.
When he showed back up in WWF,
yeah,
he looked fantastic, really, for him.
He looked good.
Slimmed down. He had slimmed down a lot.
He was in shape, but his matches were trash, I thought. But he was just
well, when they put you in a cage that's inside of another cage, and there's a bunch of dogs shitting on the floor outside in between the cages.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah,
that was so dumb. I hate when these guys try to overthink things. It's like, come on, man, we don't need dogs and shit out there.
Right. Yeah. And I think Bruce Pritchard said the dogs were humping each other, and
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm surprised Bruce Pritchard didn't try to defend it. Like, oh, hey, Vince likes dogs.
Well, and I think Bruce said the biggest problem with that is they couldn't really have cameramen in close because they couldn't be inside the cage because of the dogs.
I think it was kind of
supposed to be like vicious Rottweilers, but they're all like friendly.
Right. I don't know.
Sure, McMahon won the war, right? But but he's really had a bunch of stupid freaking ideas, and I don't think it was his creative genius that made him win the war. You know, it was maybe tenacity, maybe drive, but I don't think it was the creativity. You know, and when you hear him, you know how he's describing stuff to people and how he's got this crazy, you know, idea like he wanted Kane to have a 3-foot penis in the movie. I mean, you're like, come on, dude. Seriously. I mean, hey, if you throw out enough ideas, eventually you're going to get a good one and it's going to work, right? I mean, this guy's had so many freaking bad ideas that, you know, sure, he's a successful businessman, even though he's had quite a few bankruptcies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but a lot of his ideas just were absolutely freaking horrible, you know, including ones that impacted people and caused them to, you know, have to leave. You know, it's like, you know, hey, if you don't take this gimmick or whatever, or hey, I mean, the Red Rooster's stupid gimmick, right?
Yeah.
I mean that's doomed. There's no way in heck that's going to get over, and anybody's going to think that they look cool. I mean, you got people down south wanting to be like Ric Flair. Who's going to spike their hair up in the middle and act like a rooster?
Yeah, that was terrible. And the funny thing is how Terry Taylor, you know, he took that gimmick and he spiked his hair and he went cock-a-doodle-doo and blah blah blah. And like Bruce Pritchard is always like, oh, well, you know, we didn't want him to do that. We want him to act like such and such, this, that, and the other. It's like, yeah, okay, well, you're his boss, so why didn't you step in and say, hey, we don't want you to act like Foghorn Leghorn. We want you to do this instead. So that's what made me, the way he just, like, deflects. It's like, no, dude, you made the call, and you watched him act like a doofus, and you did nothing about it. That's on you, because that's your company. And if that's the crap you want to put on TV, then you're a scum fuck, too. Sorry, you're making me mad now. Talk about... And I've always been a WWF and Vince McMahon defender, but some of this garbage that I watch on their television show, I'm like, how the fuck did you beat Bill Watts? Because this is embarrassing. Yeah. This is horrendous. This isn't even. But it's not good anything.
If he would have got hired like a week earlier, he would have been Mr. Perfect, right?
That's what he alleges.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Kurt Hennig was better for that role. Although Terry Taylor would have been fine if there is any truth to that story. I don't think there is, but if there is any truth to that story, Terry Taylor would have been a good Mr. Perfect too. Not nearly as good as Kurt Hennig.
No, man, those vignettes with Hennig were amazing. Yeah. And he looked like he was in better shape, a better athlete than Terry Taylor.
Yeah, for sure. Terry Taylor was really good. I wish if he had stayed in Crockett as like a heel, that would have been great. But apparently, him and Dusty didn't get along, so that wasn't going to happen, unfortunately.
Well, yeah. So I heard that too. I heard it was because Dusty heard him doing a Dusty impersonation.
Yeah, I wonder how true that is. It sounds like a funny story. It might actually be true. You never know. I mean, Dusty.
It almost sounds like it. Like you couldn't really make that up, but according to Terry, that's what led. That might not have been why he got fired or why he was on the outs with Dusty. Terry was on the outs with a lot of people. A lot of people didn't like Terry. So.
Yeah, and they continue to not like Terry.
Yeah,
but he's still with. And as far as I know, he's still with NXT. I think. I'm almost positive.
Cock-a-doodle-doo.
We'll do indeed. Like I said, I liked him in UWF, but you know.
And so who do they got left in NXT? Is it just Shawn and Terry Taylor?
Vince. I have no idea. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, well, you know, Vince is at the Performance Center every day.
Oh, I'm sure he is.
Yeah. He's down there checking out the day-to-day operations.
So the NXT page here has got Matt Bloom, Shawn Michaels, I don't know who this lady is, and then Norman Smiley.
Wow.
That is Sarah Amato. I thought they let her go.
Oh, Sarah Del Rey. She's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they don't have good trainers. Like Norman Smiley's fine. And Shawn Michaels, I mean, he's pretty decent wrestler, you know.
Oh, here's Terry Taylor.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's underneath Norman Smiley. Then there's Robbie Brookside,
Oh, good. He's still there. That's cool.
Steve Carino,
Okay.
who looks like he's ready to sell somebody some insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they've got Serena Deeb. Isn't she working in AEW?
Yeah.
So this is old Scott Oh, yeah. They've got Scotty Too Hottie on here still.
Oh, yeah. That's
Johnny Moss.
I don't even know who that is.
It says began training for in-ring in 97 in England.
Hmm.
Something. Dan Severn, fault, blah, blah, blah. Too much to read. And that's it.
Well, at least I got Sean there helping them, right?
Yeah, I got Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, I saw a meme that was like, had Triple H and, let's just say, Adam Cole hugging. And then they had Triple H and William Regal hugging. And then they had Sean standing next to Triple H looking at him with a confused look. You know, it's like when you realize you're next to go.
Yeah.
I
don't think they're going to get rid of Sean. But
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think Sean would care if they did. He'd be like, all right, I'm just going to go home. I don't think.
Actually, when you hear him talk about working there,
mm-hmm.
he really enjoys working there and helping out the kids coming up. So
well, if for some reason they decide to let Shawn Michaels go, then he needs to go to AEW as an active competitor and win every single belt.
I don't think he'd do that.
On his first day, I want him to have CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole. I want every person on the roster to just lay down while he pins everybody.
Hey, so here's the question. When Sean was active, was he the best wrestler in the WWE?
What year are we talking about? Or what years are we talking about?
From his IC days to the WWE heavyweight title.
Travis, you go first.
Yeah. Sean was really good at that time in the ring. Not so good out of the ring. I think what's more impressive is when he came back in, what was it, 01?
02, yeah.
And,
yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, 02.
Yeah.
Yep, and he was still really good for quite a few more years with like less of the backstage drama.
I think if you're looking at 92 through 96 when Sean was first going solo, then you're going to say, I would say that if he wasn't the best, then Brett was and Sean was 1A or vice versa.
Yeah.
I go back and forth, but those were the two best by as far as just like in ring and just as far as everything during that time period. Between 92 and 96, who was better than those guys in the ring? Nobody.
Between Brett and Sean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Brett could do a lot, and everything he did was really good. Sean could do a little bit more, and all his stuff was just as good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, Sean's one of my favorites, and so is Brett too. I love both guys. Yeah, it depends on what day of the week you ask me who I think is better. I think like I said, if Sean wasn't the best in the WWF at that time, then Brett was, and if Brett wasn't the best in the WWF, then Sean was. But it was always either one or the other.
Man, I'm trying to disagree with you, but I can't.
Well, who do you think was better than them?
I got nobody. Right now I'm scrolling through all these wrestlers that were there in the 90s that, who it possibly could have been.
But
and the thing about it too, they had so much roster turnover from 90 to 96 that those were the only two guys who were consistently there the entire time.
That's a good point. Yep.
You're 100% correct on that one, because like I'm going through the list and it's like Razor, Triple H, Yokozuna, Diesel, Mick Foley, Rock,
Well, I mean,
Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, Bret Hart, Stone Cold.
yeah. I mean, because if you put in that range, Ric Flair's there and Perfect's there.
Yeah, Flair was there.
Rude is there. Yeah, but none of them were there that entire time.
Right.
Warrior,
And,
Sid, Flair,
and
Macho.
it's kind of funny, what Brett leaves November of '97, and Shawn's out in April at WrestleMania. That in just a few months, they're two best wrestlers gone.
Yeah.
Two of their best.
Yep. And then right after they're both gone, suddenly WWF wins in the ratings.
Yeah.
I don't think that WCW needed Brett. I think WCW needed Shawn. And I say that because, sure, Brett's technical, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. But Shawn Michaels is the heartbreak kid. Cool, the flexing, the posing, the over the top, the shenanigans.
But I think he knew that it would be great to go down there and, be part of the NWO with Kevin and Scott. But at the end of the day, he would have just been a guy in the NWO. He wouldn't have been the guy in the NWO.
Agree. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You've heard the stories of Vince.
Go
ahead.
Yeah. Or he'd be the guy getting squashed by the NWO. Like everybody else was getting squashed by the NWO.
I think the biggest problem with Brett going to WCW was that it was a year too late. He should have went in '96. By the time he went there, they had already been building Hogan and Sting for a year. So they weren't going to push that aside so Brett could feud with Hogan. Because Brett just wanted to come in and feud with Hogan. It's like, well, you can't do that because he's already feuding with a guy that he's been feuding with for over a year now. So they're not going to abandon that storyline. So it's like Brett was kind of in limbo. They put him against Flair. That match was phenomenal, but it's like, okay, well, you're bringing him in as a babyface, and you're putting him against probably the most popular guy in the company besides Sting, in Ric Flair, who, like, at WCW, obviously he's a mainstay. So that's not going to help Brett get that babyface, for lack of a better term.
And really, what they should have done the next night on Nitro, they should have had Bret Hart on the show.
What are you talking about? On the after the screw job or after Starrcade?
After the screw job.
Of course.
Yeah. And I know Bret wanted to take some time off, but surely it just been like, hey, we'll give you an open mic, air your grievances, and then you can come back when you're done with your little vacation or whatever.
Yeah, you know what? I think he was never. I think his feelings were so hurt, and I'm not saying he's wrong. I mean, I get it. I think he looked at Vince almost as another dad. I think his feelings were hurt that his performance in WCW was never going to be what it should have been, because there was no shortage of guys for him to work with there. Like, he had a match with Kurt Hennig at a pay-per-view that was like brutal, like not good, and it's like, oh my god, just a few years earlier these guys were
and he got that money and he was just mailing it in.
Yeah,
and he had the injuries and the Goldberg kick or whatever, but he was getting sloppy in the ring.
Yeah. Like he was starting to get beat up too. Like, his injuries were starting to catch up even before the Goldberg thing. Like, he had like a torn groin.
Yeah.
Like, he had going on.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think Bret Hart's best opponent or best match was going to come out of Goldberg. I think Bret Hart should have been working with someone that, he was someone a little more familiar with. And, you take him out of a ring that he's been in for 20 years and with guys that he's been working with for 20 years. And then you put him in a ring with someone who's relatively green and that you're pushing to the moon, who is reckless. And, who's a big guy, who's a football player. And I'm sorry, football players aren't known for taking it easy. I mean, the number of guys who've gotten into the wrestling business and been successful is few and far between. especially nowadays. But but back in the day, Wahoo could do it because why? Wahoo went hard, and back in the day, they went hard. You hit hard. You had to make it look real. You had to make it look convincing. Black Jack Mulligan and other guys who transitioned from that, they learned, but they went hard. And here you got Goldberg, who is intense, banging his head on shit and doing all those things. It's like, hey, come on, bro, it's a work. You ain't got to get that hyped up to go out here and have that match. It's a work. We're working together.
Here's the thing, also, like with like Wahoo and like Johnny Valentine and guys like that, like they hit. And I'm a big Goldberg fan too, but I could see why he would not be everybody's cup of tea. But they hit hard, but they weren't reckless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas Goldberg was, not only was he hitting you hard, but he didn't even know his own strength. And he's just like, he kicked the living crap out of Brett with that side kick, or that's whatever the hell that was, that mule kick. I mean, he knocked him into 3 Fridays from now. And not even with malice. He just doesn't know his own strength.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys know how, like, the Breaking Kayfabe, Jeff, or whoever will ask, if you have any questions for whoever. I think he asked the Patreon folks, hey, you got any questions for, Greg Gagne or whoever. Look, I don't remember matches. I don't remember shit. It's like, man, I got enough going on inside my head just to get the kids to school and pick them up and take them to acting classes and all this crazy stuff. I don't remember Vern Gagne working with Nick Bockwinkel. I'm sorry. But I always go, and I always want to know, like, what was the person that Johnny Valentine, Vern Gagne, what were they like outside the ring as a dad, or as an uncle, or as a relative? You know what I mean? And so, Jeff had messaged me because I'm a Patreon subscriber, and said, hey, you got any questions for Nick Patrick? About whatever. And I said, hey man, I always ask the same stupid ass question, like what was your dad like outside the ring? And I feel like a dumbass for asking it, or I'll say, hey, what was your mom like? Like he asked Greg Gagne, and he was just like, oh yeah, mom was great. Shut up, dude. Like, but I don't know if you heard Nick Patrick on the Patreon, where he's like, my mom was the backbone of the family. Like, she was there by herself most of the time, but she still came to every football game I had. She took my sister to dance class. She did all those things, and that's what I was getting at. But when I said this to Jeff, I said, Jeff, I always feel like I ask stupid question, because I'm more curious because I don't remember matches, careers. I don't remember all these dates, but I'm always curious, like, how are the wrestlers outside the ring? We know there's a lot that were shitbags, right? But I said to him, hey, here's what here's what I'm getting at when I ask you. So, like, you hear about Johnny Valentine pissing and shitting on people. You hear about him, putting butane in someone's asthma inhaler. You hear all this crazy ribs and stuff. Yeah. But I'm really curious. How did he treat Greg? I mean, you know what I mean? If this guy's pulling ribs on his buddies like this and pissing and shitting on them, I mean, how's he going to treat his son? Please don't try and tell me that he treated him like, his pride and joy, the apple of his eye, because Johnny Valentine had to be a little bit out there with Greg too. So I'm always curious of how these people were. How they parent, and it may be because I'm a new parent and I've only been doing this 3 years, but I'm always curious about that part, but I always feel like such a dumbass because that's really the only I got.
No, those are good questions. And Nick Patrick was actually really good this week too. I don't know if you guys listened yet. Obviously.
Absolutely.
I haven't had a chance to listen yet.
Yeah, he's a good guest, and he answered questions real good.
Not to take us on a crazy sideways down the dirt road, but that was one of the things that impressed me about you, Zaucha, was like you just came out and you started talking about your family, and I could see how you interacted around your family. And that meant so much more to me than your love of Lex Luger or the things you post in the group or whatever else, right? Is that, I could see who you were as a dad and what your values were as a dad. And that really impressed me.
Well,
I thought you hung up.
No, I had you on mute because I had myself on mute because I was eating trail mix and I didn't want you to hear me.
I thought you didn't want the kids to hear me put them over, of how great they were.
Yeah.
No, you know what? My kids, we're a couple of douchebags. Like Aiden, he's such a shithead. He always oversleeps and he wakes me up like first thing in the morning. Can you take me to school? And I'm like, okay, dude, yes, I can take you to school, but then you got to realize I got to get Bryson ready too. So now this is becoming a longer, drawn out process. So after you said what a great father I am, I come out and said my kids are a couple of shitheads.
Yeah. No, that's one thing I realized. Like,
go ahead, Travis.
when me and Chris became Facebook friends all those years ago, I realized that he really is a great dad. He's a big fat piece of shit, but he's a really great dad. So
I was worried you were gonna say nice things about me. Thank God you called me a big fat piece of shit. I would have been concerned.
Yeah.
So today we went outside for a little bit, and my daughter got her COVID booster Friday, so she didn't feel good yesterday. Our son got it on Saturday, so he kind of didn't feel good today. And my wife wanted to go to craft fairs, but we didn't end up going because the kids were like, I don't know if I feel good. Well, and then my son played soccer on Friday night, and then Saturday afternoon they said that several of the boys on the soccer team tested positive, and one of the coaches tested positive. So we're like, all right, so maybe we shouldn't go anywhere. So we were outside, and my daughter's bouncing the basketball, my son's kicking the soccer ball, and me and my wife are cleaning my son's car a little bit, and so I start playing like a little basketball with my daughter. I turn my back. She throws the basketball, hits me in the back, and I'm like, that's a good one. And then she throws it and hits me in the back of the head.
Wow.
Ooh.
So I sort of pick her up. I put her on the ground. I get the ball from her, and then I take a couple steps away, and then I bean her in the back with it. It bounces back off to me, and then I bean her in again. I'm like, it doesn't feel good, does it? And my wife is like, hey, Andy, maybe you shouldn't have thrown that and hit Frankie in the head. And my daughter is laughing. She thinks that it's funny. So I go like I'm about to choke her. And I'm like, it's not freaking funny. It hurt my head. And then I was like, okay, all right. And I said to her mother, I can't believe she threw that and hit me in the head. And she's like, I know. And then I got away from her. I calmed down. And then I went and took her phone. Because all day long and all day yesterday, she's been staring at her phone with her AirPods in her ear like she's too cool for school. And then she came in and she apologized and said, well, listen, when you realize that you hit someone a little harder than you should have in the back of their head with the frickin' basketball, maybe you shouldn't laugh in their face and they wouldn't have your phone. So that's my history as a parent of 3 years with a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old.
Yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you, enjoy the next few years of them being on their phone with their earbuds in.
My daughter, she is that way. So we have a swing on our back porch, and she goes out there and she swings. And then she comes inside and she sits in a rocking chair and she rocks. Then she gets up in the rocking chair, goes back out and she swings. And then she's in between those, she's eating snacks. Like she likes to eat things that she could eat a million of, like potato chips, popcorn, and she has to eat them all with her hands. My son, he never has AirPods in, never has headphones on, he's not into his phone a whole lot, but he does want to be outside and playing sports and whatever. So it's just crazy how completely opposite the two are. And so last night. So he's 15. He's got his learner's permit, so he'll have his driver's license next year. And he's got his first girlfriend, or had his first girlfriend, and his dad doesn't talk to him about real life. He doesn't talk to him about anything. It's all about, hey, soccer, whatever. So he's got this girlfriend, and so a couple weeks ago she was supposed to come over, And the morning comes, it's like, hey, have you heard from your girl yet? Is she coming over? No. So like 3 or 4 comes, ain't heard from her. 5 o'clock comes, and he goes, yeah, she just texted us, she's not coming over. I said, well, let me tell you, bud, that's an asshole. You don't want to be dating an asshole.
Yeah.
If she couldn't have texted you in the morning and let you know she wasn't coming, then you just want to steer clear of that. And he's like, okay. So like 2 days later, he texts me. He goes, hey, I broke it off with her. I said, that is very, very smart. And then when I picked him up from school the next time, I said, hey, but let me give you a little technique. This is called the ghosting. So someone treats you like that and you don't like it, you don't have to be the bad guy and say, hey, this ain't working out for me. I'm going to go see someone else. You just don't say a thing. You just ignore them. I said, that is a very valuable technique in your life, because for some reason, chicks love it when you do it. If you act like you're not interested, they're all about you. And so it's right. Yeah. So it's so funny for me, because my father never had talks with me about anything. And so here's this kid whose dad doesn't do it either. And here I am giving the talks.
Yeah.
Last night, this is just a true story. Last night I said, hey, I'm kind of glad that you stopped seeing this girl, because I thought I was going to have to go buy you condoms.
Oh, man. What do you say to that?
he didn't like it. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, bud, look, we had the sex talk and it was uncomfortable for both of us. I said, but if you're going to be hanging out with a girl with, doors closed and away from adults, we're going to have another talk, and it's called condoms. And so he's like, oh no, he's like, I don't want to do that. And so my wife popped in. She says, no, bud, you have to have this talk, because the other talk that we're going to have is when you come and you tell us that you accidentally got a girl pregnant. Then we have another kid, right? And we'll have to help you raise that kid for, 7, 8 years till you graduate high school or whatever, and so she backed me up on it. And while it's uncomfortable for him, like my dad never talked to me about no condoms. I mean, actually, in ninth grade, the gym coach gave the sex ed course, and he kept pronouncing condoms. And I couldn't help but laugh. Everybody's laughing under their breath at this guy. Like, he can't even pronounce it. You think he's going to use it? And he pulled out a banana and showed us how to do it on the banana. But I mean, it's like, come on, that's all you get. Like so my wife bought this sex book, let's talk about sex, I think is what it's called, that you use as a guide. And we walked around for like, an hour every day for like 3 days and talked about it. And I got to the end of it. I said, that's all they're going to talk about? Wait a minute, there's so much more you gotta learn. Well, I mean, come on. I mean, sure, they talked about what's it called when you get off in your sleep? Wet dreams. They mentioned that. I'm like, man, they didn't talk about like breaking up with people. They didn't talk about, STDs. They didn't talk about, any of the crazy stuff, And I was like, but we're going to have a refresher here in a couple of years. So that's where we are with Frankie's parenting.
That's awesome. Well, maybe next time we talk about WCW 1993.
No, man. Look, I'm telling you, man. Seriously, being at that fan fest like touched my heart. You guys can be wrestling nerds, or we all can be wrestling nerds. That's great. But when I see that, like, you're actually nice guys, and you're humans, and you're good dads, and you're good people, and you are good friends, man, it's like warms the cockles, brother. I mean,
there wasn't anybody there that I met that I was like, oh, this guy's a jerk off. Like, everybody was cool, which is good.
And what this is
who'd you meet? Who did you think was an asshole, Travis? Let's kind of shoot promo on everybody now.
There was this guy come down. He was bald and he had glasses.
Oh yeah.
And he had his 2 kids with him. His kids were great, but he was a complete asshole. And
holy shit, this guy's someone I might know. Wait a second.
You gotta think this was my fifth fan fest. Yeah. So it's actually been cool to watch it grow from more of the older Florida crowd to more of the brothership crowd.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm eating trail mix.
That was the crowd and the people there is kind of what made Jana and I say, hey, we should do something to try and get more people there, because you see that there's some sad stories in the group, people that are having hard times, and then everybody is just loving that person. Oh, you got it, bud. You hang in there.
Yeah.
Whatever, right? And it's like, man, you don't find guys saying this to guys very often, first of all. And then when you see, like everybody was saying, hey, where's Shard? Why didn't Shard make it? It's like, there was a guy that everybody wanted there, and he wasn't there. And it's like, man, if we could get one more person there, and that's what I was saying on the way home. It's like, man, if we could just get one more person there, that would be so much better for not just Barry and Dave Penzer and Jeff or the superstars. It would be better for all the brothership to be like, and it would be better for that person to go and be able to experience that. Because for me, it was so cool to put, faces behind the names, personalities behind the posts, all that together, Max Spiker, we had dinner together there and at Glory Days and walked down there together and just had just a great time. And then I spoke with Chris and Jamie Ward, and it was like, man, all those like little talks, every one of those guys were cool guys that left a lasting impression on me.
It really is cool.
Like Ariel said, he and Michael Herrick have been talking food for years, because I mentioned that they had sent gifts, and it's like, that is so freaking cool. It's like, you remember when you were a kid and they're like, hey, have this pen pal, and you had to write this letter?
Yeah.
This is like 1,000,000,000 times better.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's cool seeing everybody there that you see every time you're there, and every time you go there, there's more people there, so you get to see them, and hopefully they keep coming back to all of them. So
well, when we were up at the Glory Days and I met Jamie Ward, and I don't think I recognized him, because most people don't have a picture of them as their profile pic, right? And so we start talking, and then you hear that like Jamie Ward and maybe Jeff and Barry have all known each other since the 80s. And that's just crazy to me, right? I mean, that's just crazy.
Yeah. It's almost like a high school reunion.
Well, you got like Barry has known like Jim Cornette and Vandal Drummond since the late 70s, because they were all WFIA guys.
Right.
Well, so Greg Grog was there, and when I realized who he was, Barry said, oh, I've known Greg since like 78, 79, 77, something, right? And I said, oh my gosh. I said, Count Grog. I sent him tapes of me wrestling to try and get booked. He never booked me.
Wow, small world. That's
Barry,
awesome.
Barry, he was at that Knoxville WFIA. He was at Atlanta when Ole turned on Dusty in the cage. That was a WFIA weekend.
Yeah, he told some story when he was 15 and went from Miami to Memphis. And I'm like, dude, your parents let you go that far? I'm like, man, we wouldn't even let my kid go to Winn Dixie down the street.
Yeah. They're different now.
Which is
crazy. So WCW 93. So Travis, what did you think of Battle Bowl 93?
Oh God. That's probably one of the best pay-per-views WCW had.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of my favorites. The whole concept was awesome.
The concept's good. Really, 93 WCW pay-per-views were all really good.
Yeah.
And I mean, you look at the roster and the feuds they had that year. it's understandable why most of their pay-per-views were good.
Yeah, and it's funny because you look at the roster and they couldn't draw anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you look at that roster and you wonder how they couldn't draw anything.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to say Frankie, sorry.
Well, I was going to say, guys, we've been recording for 2.5 hours now, so why don't we save the Battle Bowl talk for the next time? We'll do part 2 of WCW 1993, and maybe we can do a deep dive.
Yeah, I'm in.
We'll do
definitely.
A deep,
maybe we'll actually
dive.
talk about WCW 93.
Yeah, I was about to say maybe we'll actually talk about it. So.
Yeah, I'm in. Yeah, absolutely.
Was hold on? Did they do more than one Battle Bowl?
They did.
Well, Starrcade.
Go ahead, Trevor.
What was it? Starrcade 91 was Battle Bowl.
91 and 92 they did Battle Bowl, and then 93 they actually.
And then 93 it's a standalone pay-per-view.
Yep.
Okay, so one was the Lethal Lottery, right?
Yeah, that's the Battle Bowl. Yeah.
There was one that I remember from being a kid where Cactus Jack and Sting were paired up and they were feuding.
Yeah, it was 91, I think. Yeah, it might have been Sting and Abdullah.
So that makes sense. And Cactus Jack was coming down the ring and he was, doing his like little stumble and he's pointing. He's like, me and you, me and you, me and you. I mean, Cactus Jack was tremendous, by the way.
Oh God, yeah. Oh hell yeah, absolutely.
Well, and Battle Bowl 93, they had Cactus Jack and Vader team up, and they were in the middle of a feud.
After they had just feuding, yeah, that's solid too.
Hey, I got one last question before we sign off here. Does anybody know where Diamond Dallas Page managed strip clubs at? What part of Florida?
Was it Fort? Is there a place called Fort Myers?
It's south of here. Yep.
Well, I was about to say, and I know he is probably in and around that Tampa, St. Pete area. Well,
so on our way up to Dunedin, which is spelled like Dun.
Yeah.
There's
Dunedin.
Yeah, Dunedin. Yep. There was a Diamond Dolls club on the right hand side, like going up toward Clearwater.
Yeah.
And so I've seen it before, and I'm like, man, come on, that can't be a coincidence.
I can't remember what his place was called. I don't think it had anything to do with that. I don't think.
No.
But I don't.
Well, when we post this, I'm sure some nerd will know what the name of it was.
Yeah. And they can help us. Yeah, exactly.
Have you ever gotten a lap dance to the sound of a DDP yoga infomercial?
No, I guess I have.
Yeah, that's a private dance. You go back in, they show you the 15-minute fucking infomercial for DDP yoga while some lady gives you a lap dance.
What? You know what? I don't want to know. I don't want to.
Well, he does that. Like everywhere he goes, he's got to show the DDP infomercial. So if he had a strip club, you'd think it'd just be like playing on an endless loop in there. There's no music in the strip club. It's just the fucking DDP yoga infomercial.
Yeah. Well,
all right, fellas. So look, Zaucha's got the next few nights off, so you guys want to get back on here and chit chat? I am all for it, and we'll have a 2 or 3 parter. I'm game.
All right, cool.
All right, y'all take care. Good talking to y'all.
All right, man.
Be good.
Back from Travis Reigns and Chris Zaucha, and what an exciting time it was, and I really want to get them back on, and then this time I promise I'll shut up. I won't bulldog the conversation, and I'll let them talk about WCW at 1993 because I've got nothing to add to that conversation.
Neither do I.
Where were you in 1993?
I was, depending on the month, I was 12 or 13 years old, living in my old house.
What were you into?
I was into Sega Genesis. I was into
the disc?
No, that's just the regular Sega. No, wait, the disc? No. I was into video games, Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo. I was into like pro wrestling, WWF. I grew up with WWF, and WCW. For the most part. Let's see, what else was I into back in the day? Gangster rap. Just typical teenager guy stuff back then, I guess, living in California. I mean, just yeah, a lot of video games.
Right?
No, Bay Area with Lou Kippelman and
oh man,
yeah, sweet Lou.
I didn't know you used to live with Lou.
No, no, but the same area.
Well, you guys are trying to do a Different Strokes spinoff, huh?
Pretty much, yeah, basically.
Yeah, Lou Kilperman is Mr. Drummond.
Sorry, Lou.
He'd be a great Mr. Drummond,
He would actually,
yeah. I heard that the real Mr. Drummond was a freak.
Was he? I did not know.
I think later in his years he had some substance abuse problems, I believe.
Oh, I got to look that up. That sounds interesting. Is there like any how do you know about this?
I don't know. Somehow sometimes things get trapped in my brain, and I have no idea how it gets there or got there, but it's there and it just comes out sometimes.
So you're totally not making this up, or
no. This ain't another one of Frankie's stupid jokes. This is real deal. I think his name was Conrad Bang.
I gotta look it up. That sounds very interesting. I mean, if there's a documentary about it, I'll be interested in that too. So, but yeah, that's a wow. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me actually. I mean, some of these actor types, they have some demons in there, or skeletons in their closet, or demons somewhere, whatever. But how the saying goes. But yeah, it's nowadays it wouldn't surprise me. Look at David Carradine, for instance. I mean, yeah, he had a freaky side too, right?
Well, allegedly,
I should say allegedly.
Yeah, because I mean, there's several other people who have died that way, and I'm like, were they really? Did they really die that way, or were they murdered? And then some people were like, hey, we're going to make this look, weird, and just pull their pants down, You know
what? You and my girlfriend have a lot in common because you guys watch a lot of true crime shows. I'm sure of it. I mean, because this is like, she comes up with this stuff all the time also. I'm sorry, I keep bringing up my girlfriend. But yeah, she has all these theories and questions. She's like, I don't know. It's all that true crime stuff that she watches. So I'm sure you're like that too, right?
Yeah, no. If you're a pro wrestling fan, if you grew up on it, you learn to not trust anything, to question stuff. So I mean that's it. But I mean, like, seriously, if I was going to hang, if I was in the asphyxiation and was going to jerk off, I wouldn't do it where I'd be hanging. I'd want to do it where I'm comfortable, laying on the bed, and I would be cautious, or maybe that would take some of the fun out of it. I don't know. I would have to have, because I wouldn't want that to be my legacy, and it always is. Those folks who die jerking off, hey, that's what you remember about them. You forget David Carradine, John, Kung Fu, snatched the marble out of my hand, grasshopper. You forget his dad was a famous actor, and the Kill Bill movies or whatever. The only thing you remember is this dude, jerking off, and that's how he died. The same Michael Hutchins from NXS. That's what they said about him. I heard also it was suicide. Well, how do you get those two confused? Either you got your schlong out when you do it, or you don't. You know what I mean? So if you don't have it, then we could say, yeah, that's suicide. But if your wiener's exposed, then that was definitely an accident.
Yeah.
Or you're murdered and somebody just wants to, make you look like a fool, You know, and if that's the case, they should stick a butt plug up there too. I mean, let's just get it all out there.
Wow. This went in a very different direction than I thought it would be. But you make a good point because, like, yeah, I mean, what if somebody had a hit out on him and the assassin wanted to make it look like some sort of freaky deaky thingy that, yeah. So, okay, you opened my mind to other possibilities about auto asphyxiation and jerking off. Curse you for that. But
hey, please don't go try it, man. Look.
No, I'm not into that.
Our group is very supportive, but I promise you that if you die jerking off, we will make fun of you.
Oh, well, you know what? That would be great. If that would be a legendary fixture on the podcast or the Facebook group, as like how Chris Zaucha is or Jaworski.
Yeah.
If I'm in that company of legends, then that would be great.
Yeah.
But yeah, dying of auto asphyxiation, jerking off, that would be quite a legacy for me to leave.
Well, I also I grew up in the just say no to drugs, that era, and it would be the same for me when someone's like, hey, look, man, you know what you got to try? You got to try choking yourself with a belt while you're jerking off. I'd be like, I don't think so. I think I'm good just the way that I do it. I'm okay. Feels great. We still end up at the same train station.
Same train station, exactly.
Yeah, I would not be easily sold on that.
Unless you sit on your hand, wait till it gets numb, jerk yourself off, like give yourself a stranger, jerk yourself off, and then choke yourself at the same time. No.
Oh, yeah. So actually, you could numb both hands.
Both hands. Oh, now okay.
And it's like two strangers or like one big stranger. Just.
Oh my God, I hate this episode already.
Yeah. And on that note, I just want to say thank you so much for being with me once again and bringing this entertainment into my life. And thank everyone for listening and supporting it. And before I go, I do want to say that we've only got a few days before the final date of submission for anyone that is interested in applying for this scholarship that my wife and I are doing to help one member of the brothership get to Lutz, Florida on June 4th to not only see Axe and Smash Demolition, but also to spend time with the brothership. So if you are on the fence and you don't know whether you should do it or not, then just look for the post, or you can email me at 233-0186@gmail.com, and I'll send you the link to the form you submit. And it's a short little form. It just says, hey, who are you? Where are you flying out of? Why do you want to do this? And then it's real easy to do. But you will have till January 31st, and then shortly after that, probably a week or so after, we will make a decision and let you know the results of that. I'm excited, but we've only got 5 people that are submitting, which is good. But I think there's a lot of people who think, well, there's other people that are more deserving, or there's people who think they wouldn't be chosen. But either way, I would love to hear from you. And, we're not going to sell your information or rat you out or whatever that happens. Other charities, we just want to hear from you and help as many people as we can get to Lutz, Florida. And if you're not chosen this time, then, we're hopefully, if this all goes well, we can do it again next time, which I think will probably be in November. So anyway, thank you for letting me get that plug in there, Ariel. And thank you so much for recording with me every week. I really have a good time.
I had a great time too. Thank you for having me back again. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm your co-host anyway, so I mean, I'm obligated to be back, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Each and every week, whenever, you're not quote unquote walking the dog.
What if I'm walking the dog right now? You.
All right.
Guy?
On that note. All right, you take care. Thanks,
You
fellowship.
too.
We'll see you.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.